5 people are killed in a bow and arrow attack. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. It happened in Norway. The man who did it, admitting it to police after his arrest, was known to them as a radical Muslim.
Meldingene som kommer fra Kongsberg I kveld grufulle.
Norway's Prime Minister called it a gruesome attack. A man armed with weapons, including a bow and arrow, killed 5 people in a small town near Oslo. Police say the suspected attacker, who's in custody, had previously converted to Islam and had been flagged as having been radicalised. The shootings took place in a number of locations, including a supermarket. It's Norway's deadliest attack for 10 years.
Fox's Simon Owen. Former President Trump, in one of 3 press releases yesterday, still claiming election fraud, writes, if we don't solve the presidential election fraud of 2020, which we have thoroughly and conclusively documented, Republicans will not be voting in 22 or 24. Undoing something former President Trump did, the United States is returning to the UN Human Rights Council, among 18 countries being elected today by the United Nations General Assembly.
The United Nations Human Rights Council has 47 member nations, but currently 18 vacancies. There's no competition in the geographical locations with representation, so all countries that want a spot will likely get one. In the African region, that includes Eritrea, Somalia, and Cameroon. In the Asia-Pacific region, that includes Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Honduras in the Latin American region, and the U.S. in the Western Europe and other states region. During his administration, President Trump withdrew us from the Human Rights Council due to member countries' criticisms of Israel and the fact that many of the countries on the council ironically have abysmal human rights records. But earlier this year, Secretary of State Blinken said the U.S. would rejoin the council under President Biden. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
At least 46 people are killed in a 13-story apartment building fire in Taiwan. Dozens of people are hurt. The lower floors of the building are completely black. America's listening to Fox News.
Here's a fact. COVID hospitalizations of young people have tripled since the start of summer. Also a fact. Vaccines are highly effective in preventing hospitalizations and deaths, even from the Delta variant. If you've got questions about COVID vaccines, talk to a doctor, because our kids are irreplaceable. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hear that? That's the sound of a man guarding his home around the clock. Because he has 24/7 professional monitoring from SimpliSafe Home Security. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe keeps watch night and day. If there's trouble, SimpliSafe alerts them and will dispatch emergency help when needed. Protect your home and your sleep. Take 30% off a new system at SimpliSafe.com today.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03 and Robinson saves you time. Right now, 57 is our current temperature in Columbia. It's 55 degrees in Jefferson City. Rain this morning, then we're expecting the sun to finally return tomorrow. We will, today actually, this afternoon, high of 69. Partly cloudy tonight, and then more rain in the evening, low of 53. And the rain is back in the forecast tomorrow and a high of 59 degrees. So have the umbrella handy. You'll certainly need it today into tomorrow. Good morning. A series of different crashes Wednesday afternoon on eastbound Interstate 70 in Callaway County. Backed up traffic for 10 to 15 miles near Kingdom City. MoDOT says the crashes happened near mile marker 153. Eastbound I-70 was closed for about 2 hours. ABC 17 News reports motorists got out of their vehicles and spoke to one another on the interstate. That's how bad the traffic was. Callaway County Sheriff Clay Chisholm telling KMIZ one person was taken to University Hospital for moderate injuries. Many of the motorists who were stuck in that traffic yesterday were tractor-trailer drivers up and down eastbound I-70. Meantime, Missouri's governor describes U.S. Senator Roy Blunt as a hero for working to obtain an $81 million federal grant for a new I-70 Roachport Bridge. The Trump administration awarding the grant to Missouri. It's the largest largest competitive grant ever received by MoDOT.
Both of those, with Senator Blunt and President Trump at the time and their administrations, worked very closely with us to be able to get, again, it was more money than we actually thought we would get, but they understood the infrastructure importance of this.
A groundbreaking ceremony was held this week in the Rocheport area near Les Bourgeois. The new bridges are scheduled to be completed by December of 2024. Job applicants who are hoping to land positions at the new Kawasaki plant in Boonville can bring their resumes today at a job fair in Boonville. It's the Boone Slick Expo Job Fair. 59 exhibitors will be on hand. Employers and schools, students are encouraged to attend as well. Caterpillar, Isle of Capri, employers from Cooper, Boone, Pettis, other counties will be there. You're encouraged to bring multiple resumes to hand out today. Again, this is face-to-face paper resumes. Bring them because you will have job interviews. Today's expo, 9 to 1, Boonville's Isle of Capri. Kawasaki plans to build a new plant in Boonville. It will open in May 2022. They'll make general-purpose engines. Kawasaki is leasing the former Nordyne facility that closed several years ago. 93.9, The Eagle News is presented to you this hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all your heating needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9, The Eagle News Time, 6:05. In sports, Ray Fosse, Marion, Illinois native, has died at the age of 74. He was a power-hitting catcher, Cleveland Indians and the Oakland A's, hit by Pete Rose at home plate during the 1970 All-Star Game. Fosse had battled cancer for 16 years. Many of you remember him as well as a great broadcaster with the A's. Ray Fosse, 74 years old. His wife said he'd battled cancer for 16 years. San Francisco hosting the Dodgers, deciding Game 5 of the National League Division Series tonight. That series tied at 2 tonight's game. 8:07 our time at Oracle Park. Winner advances to the National League Championship Series against Atlanta. The game's loser will head home. Two great teams. The Giants 107 wins at this point. Los Angeles 106 wins. 93.9 The Eagle Sports is brought to you this hour by LaCrosse Lumber, the oldest, most reliable lumber and hardware company in the Midwest since 1873. LaCrosse Lumber, Grindstone in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. All right, Kevin, thank you. Appreciate your great work. Right now, our current temperature in Columbia is 50 degrees, 57 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. We just had a wild afternoon yesterday. It was kind of quiet in the morning, and then all the situations on I-70 in the Kingdom City area in Callaway County, 4 to 5 different wrecks. We had a bad one as well here in Columbia at 70 and 63. So give yourself extra time. A lot of those happening in the rain yesterday. Not seeing anything right now to report, but if you want to report a traffic issue, call or text us 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
He's lost the confidence of the American people. They don't trust him on his handling of the economy in any sense.
People are not only mad, they're now panicked about inflation. And this big spending and more borrowing is only going to add to inflation.
It's a tribute to Branden. Let's go, Branden.
All right, this is really, every time I say this now, and somebody will even text me on it at 874-9390, I'll say, these are facts. This is not a conservative talking point. And I get texts like, every time you say it's not a conservative talking point, you lay into a conservative talking point. And I respond by saying, well, if you consider facts, conservative talking points, I own up to it. It is a conservative talking point. Food is up. I was watching on ABC's national news last night. Cost of food is up. Most groceries are up. Gasoline is up. Everything is up. But good news, COLA adjustment, Social Security.
Yeah, that's going to go up as well. And I think in the past 10 years, the average was 1.7%. I think we're looking at 6. Did they say?
5.9.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And last night I'm watching this guy, whoever is filling in for David Muir, saying, "Oh, well, that's good news." It's not really. It's keeping pace, right, which is good. That at least you're not going to shortchange people. I don't know. It's good news. You're just keeping.
It's a sign of how expensive everything has gotten.
Right.
It's bad. It's not a conservative talking point unless you consider facts. Conservative talking points, supply chain issues, and it's starting to affect us even here in mid-Missouri. As a matter of fact, our news partners at ABC 17, they always do a good job of taking national stuff, kind of localizing it. They sent a reporter out yesterday. They were chatting with folks. Hey, look, are you having any issues? Because I think the first thing I think is food. Can I get food? Can I get beef? Can I get steaks?
And get food and gasoline prices. The gas prices obviously have been impacted. And the other thing that we're dealing with is we got all these lumber jobs that are open right now. And that's why the Boonville, and it's not just Boonville, people that live in Columbia and all over can go to this job fair, but they're really trying to fill these jobs today.
And I hope that becomes a good thing. I've heard from various people, including a local police department, just did a job fair. Mm-hmm. Said, yeah, that was not what we expected. And I've heard it from other people. There's an agency in Columbia, and all of a sudden, I don't know which one it is, but they did like a skill job kind of work fair. Hey, we'll help you get to a job here. We'll help you with your resume. We might be able to help you with donations of business closes. Nobody showed up.
Wow.
Nobody's going to these things. So ABC 17 out chatting with local folks yesterday regarding supply chain issues.
Food, just like other commodities that we need on a day-to-day basis, like transportation, getting around, even a small increase or decrease can greatly impact our choices and the things that we do.
They talked to somebody, a local produce manager, and one of the big things that they're seeing, one of the big things they're having an issue with right now as it relates to supply chain issues is they can't keep enough dragon fruit in stock.
Wow.
Appropriate response, Brian. And I don't know what will happen here, but as we think about this here in mid-Missouri, Christmas shopping.
Yeah, we've heard. I mean, it seems like every time I hear, the news, people are saying, you got to do your Christmas shopping now. And I'm thinking, as a parent, Christmas shopping is very important to me. But in my life, it requires a spreadsheet, and a lot of thought.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. And I'm not there yet. I literally just ordered my kids' Halloween costumes like this week. And even those, I think even on Amazon, they're going to take 2 weeks to get here. So parents, if you're out there and you have not ordered your kids' Halloween costume, you need to do that.
So Stephanie, I believe it was 2 Christmases ago, Branden brought a Christmas present into the studio with him that needed wrapped, and he had moldy Ninja Turtle wrapping paper.
That is gross.
And he wanted us ladies on the show to help him wrap this gift. Was it Christmas Eve? It was like
probably
close. It was close to the wire, and he had this nasty Ninja Turtle wrapping paper that had been sitting in his closet, and he didn't understand why we wouldn't help him.
That was when one of our Wake Up Columbia family members, Lauren Auser, was here. I remember coming in, hey, I got this great gift. I found some wrapping paper. Can you guys, because I can't wrap a gift to save my life. If you said, hey, we're going to die, or you're going to wrap this Christmas paper, we're going to die.
Oh, my husband is an A+ rapper, like 10 out of 10, can like match up the lines on like striped paper.
Your husband's a stud. The more I know about him and having met him a couple of times, he's a stud.
He can come in and do a demonstration for you, maybe.
Branden is going to need it.
So, yeah, everybody's, we got to get stuff for Christmas. Halloween, too. As a matter of fact, I ordered a Let's Go Branden NASCAR-looking shirt. And Amazon. It was like 10 to 12 days. Yeah, before it even gets here.
You must not have Amazon Prime.
No, you do. Yeah, and I would say there are a couple things that I've ordered that have on Amazon that are going to take that long. The Halloween costumes being one. And I think we've gotten really spoiled, right? And just thinking, I can just order it, if I need it this weekend, I can order it Monday or Tuesday. And, I know I'm in for a rude awakening. And, I'm of the opinion, too, that, maybe we should just, take a trip. Do I really need all of this stuff? Maybe not. So maybe this is the year that I say, you know what? I don't need all this stuff. Let's go
somewhere.
Spend some time together.
Let's go to the second biggest town in Boone County. Let's go to Centralia for the week and hang out there. Welcome into Wake Up Columbia. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
Mr. Hauswirth.
Good morning, sir.
There's Hannah, the producer.
What up?
My name is Branden Rathert. Some of the things we're going to cover this morning, more folks getting into this mayoral race in Columbia. By the way, these tax park people, they want to extend. And first thing we have to do is explain. So parks get several $1 million from the general fund in Columbia. There is a dedicated park tax. It's like an eighth of a cent. And then several years ago, voters voted to, in effect, double that to a quarter of 1 penny. They want to extend that extra quarter or extra eighth of a percent, whatever it is.
It's a quarter of a cent.
Yeah, and so some folks are going to be joining us 8:35 this morning. I'm not in favor of it. They get plenty of money from I'm not in favor of it anymore. They're going to be here at 8:35. They get plenty of money from the general fund. There is already a dedicated park tax. Let's get rid of the extra and see how you do with that for a while, and then maybe come back in 5 years. William Shatner going to outer space yesterday, and I could really care less. I get it. Maybe for a generation that's a little bit older than me, it's a big thing. We're going to outer space, and I get. Listen, the frontier of travel is space. They've been saying that for 70 years now, but now where private people are going to be able to go and talking about colonizing Mars and stuff like that. William Shatner goes to space. It just doesn't interest me at all, but I guess it's kind of a big deal. He went up for 10 minutes. The most amazing part about this story, William Shatner is 90 years.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Look, it's Googleable. Check it for me. Fact check it. William Shatner. How old is William Shatner? He is 90 years old. So
they let you go to space when you're 90?
I guess. And the guy, so he went to space. He looks good, too. Because I look at him, I think, man, he's 60 years old. And no, he was on Star Trek before I was even born. He's got to be 70. He looks good. How old is he?
He's 90. He was born in 1931.
Oh, my goodness.
But you look at him.
He looks great.
He looks phenomenal.
So, underneath William Shatner, it says people also search for Betty White is 99? I knew she was older, but wow.
I hate to get into this old guy thing here, but are either one of you familiar with Elton John's Rocket Man? I'm a Rocket Man, Bernie.
Yes.
Okay. William, are you familiar with William Shatner on some talk show one night years ago? Did a reading of the lyrics to Rocket Man, which is famous, infamous, cult-like status.
Last night, pre-flight, 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high.
And the best part, there's a video component to it, and I get it, we're on the radio, but he's smoking a cigarette on stage, and he does this really dramatic reading of Elton John's Rocket Man, and he's puffing on a cigarette, and I'm going to be high. Crazy. 90 years old. Coming up, we have your daily DC rundown here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. I want to talk about what's coming up in that. Couple of shout-outs already. I think Charles has a great question on text at 874-9390 talking about this job fair happening today in the Booneville area. He says, it'd be interesting of the people that attend the job fair of who already has a job and who doesn't, which I think is an interesting question. Another damaging report to the Biden administration yesterday. Record numbers of people they're just quitting their jobs. And depending on which news source you follow, there's different reasonings for why more and more people are quitting their jobs. I like that. Mike checking in this morning. 218-774-9390. Let's go, Branden. I know it's not a feel-good Friday, but today is National Dessert Day. So happy Dessert Day. Love the two new additions, Brian and Older Lady. His words, not mine. So, Miss Older Lady, what do we have coming up in the Daily DC Rundown today?
Well, we've talked a lot about Sinema and Manchin kind of holding control there in Congress, but now the Progressive Caucus is trying to flex their muscle. What did they do yesterday?
They're a mess, and I love it. Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell coming up at 6:25 on 93.9 The Eagle.
Oh, this is great.
Everyone else takes it too seriously. Thank God you get it. This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, 93.9 The Eagle.
I don't throw the term socialist around very much, but by golly, this group right now is totally enraptured with the socialist agenda. They don't even hide it anymore. They truly believe in the goodness and greatness of government.
It's Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. I love that last line. They believe in the greatness of government, said the guy working in government. One of our local congressmen, Blaine Luetkemeyer, on the show yesterday, lambasting Democrats, calling them idiots because of all the social this infrastructure package. It's not about infrastructure. It's mostly about social programs, and they're not even trying to hide their socialism anymore. That gets us into today's Daily D.C. Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
So yesterday, the Progressive Caucus sent a letter to Nancy Pelosi, and Congressman Luetkemeyer is exactly right. I mean, just socialism, all the way around. They said if given a choice between legislating narrowly or broadly, we strongly encourage you to choose the latter. So if given the choice between less government and more government, more government. And it's really interesting because we kind of addressed this question yesterday, but, rather than having to pick and choose what programs might be, the most beneficial, they're saying, no, we want all the programs. We'll just do them temporarily. So give us everything, the free childcare, free education, dental vision, all that. But let's just do it for 5 years. And that's kind of a tease, right? Because if we get them for 5 years, then in 5 more years, they're going to be like, well, we already have them. It's just a renewal. It's like parks tax.
Yep.
It's just a renewal.
You beat me to it. Points, sorry. Stephanie, points.
We're just going to re-up it. And so I think if we go for that full package and we get it, even though it's temporary, it's not going to be just temporary. We're going to have this fight. And I think then the argument for them becomes much easier. It's just a renewal. Let's just keep what we have. And interestingly enough, though, I guess in their letter, they did say, they argued against linking the programs to low or modest income levels, saying that everyone should benefit. And, you think about like AOC and her dress with like tax the rich, and then she's with all these liberal elites and all these rich people. And so they're like, even rich people should get all of this stuff. And so these aren't just social programs are vulnerable for people who really need it, but they're saying, yeah, even rich people should get all this free stuff. Who is going to pay for all this?
And it's not social programs, it's socialism. That's what it is. They're saying we're going to use taxes and everybody will get all. That's socialism at its. That's how you explain socialism to a second grader in a Columbia public school. That's what socialism is.
So I hope Manchin and Sinema hold the line and we don't get all the programs for 5 years. Other things that are going on in D.C., we're back on January 6th. I guess they issued a subpoena to a former Justice Department lawyer who had ties to Trump and who I guess championed Trump's efforts to undo with respect to the election. And so now the House committee is issuing subpoenas, asking for more information. So they are digging there.
All right. We should quit calling it the Progressive Caucus. Let's call it the Socialism, the Socialist Caucus.
Socialist Squad.
Socialist Squad. I like it. You're on to something there. And by the way, this whole thing still with January the 6th. I love... He said facetiously, watching how a lot of these news outlets, this insurrection. Listen, you got a whole bunch of people that were overzealous, whole bunch of morons collected into one place that did some moronic stuff. It's not an insurrection. I think they hype it, but they will continue because they still have to go. Look at Donald Trump. I swear to God, we'll get him eventually with steam coming out of their ears and tears in their eyes. Coming up, Fox News, they are going to have more on what is happening in D.C. this morning as it relates to infrastructure. And if there is anything else happening in Washington, D.C., they will have that for you, too. The Islamic connection to that bow and arrow attack in Norway. And then Brian Hauswirth is here. Pretty big job fair happening today. The details you might want to know if you're going to be attending that. He has that for you at 6:31.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. An FDA panel meets today and tomorrow on greenlighting COVID vaccine boosters for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson.
They'll be getting presentations from both companies. The committee's also going to talk about data on the use of a different vaccine than the one you originally got, what they call the mix and match booster.
Fox's Jill Nato. More details out about Norway's deadliest attack in a decade.
Meldingene som kommer fra Kongsberg I kveld grufulle.
Norway's Prime Minister called it a gruesome attack. A man armed with weapons, including a bow and arrow, killed 5 people in a small town near Oslo. Police say the suspected attacker, who's in custody, had previously converted to Islam and had been flagged as having been radicalized.
Fox's Simon Owen. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31, 57 degrees is our current temperature right now. In Columbia, it's 56 degrees in Jefferson City. Before we get started, just want to let you know, just moments ago, the Columbia Police Department and Joint Communications responding to an injury accident, Stadium and Ashland Road. A number of law enforcement on the scene right now. So again, if you're in that area, give yourself some extra time. No other details available. That accident crash happening here literally in the last 2 to 3 minutes. Stadium and Ashland Road. Here's a look at some of the stories we're following on this Thursday. A series of crashes involving numerous tractor trailers and cars closing eastbound I-70 near Kingdom City for several hours on Wednesday. It backed traffic up for almost 15 miles.
Troopers had to deal with several car crashes on I-70 in Callaway County yesterday, which caused a lot of jam traffic near Kingdom City. Happened about 1:30 near the 153-mile marker, and both of the eastbound lanes of 70 were blocked for 3 hours. Troopers say there were 4 separate crashes with 5 tractor trailers and 3 passenger cars. Several people were injured. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
John, thanks. State troopers say 3 Missourians were killed. Another 51 were injured in traffic crashes in the Show Me State in 2020 involving parked emergency vehicles that were displaying emergency lights. Saturday has been designated as National Move Over Day. What they're encouraging everyone to do when they see these emergency lights, whether it's a police officer, firefighters, tow trucks, you need to move over as far as possible. Missouri's governor says the $240 million new I-70 Roachport Bridge project has national and statewide significance. Governor Parson tells 93.9 The Eagle an $81 million federal grant was crucial. He notes 4 million trucks cross the aging bridge annually.
And I think you look at how important I-70 is for the economy of our country, not only for our state. It was just one of the things that matched up very well with their matching money. And frankly, we got more money than we thought we were going to get.
The governor spoke to the Eagle outside the groundbreaking ceremony when it was over on a bluff overlooking where the new bridge will be built. The current deteriorating bridge was built in 1960. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers expected to issue a final permit to MoDOT later in the week that would allow construction to start. In Kawasaki, Caterpillar, Isle of Capri, just a few of the 59 exhibitors at today's Boonslick Education and Job Expo in Boonville. Most of the exhibitors are employers. They will be accepting your resumes for positions. Kawasaki has announced they're building a manufacturing plant in Boonville, 270 new jobs. Production at that plant starts in May. Boonville's Economic Development Director, Gigi Quinlan McGreevy, telling 93.9 The Eagle that you're encouraged to bring multiple resumes today to provide to employers. These are face-to-face meetings. They want you to bring paper resumes. There'll be a number of employers on hand today. Business casual is how you want to dress. Today's event will start at 9, goes until 1 o'clock at Boonville's Isle of Capri, right there in Boonville. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you by Mid-America Mortgage. Check out midamericamortgage.us and apply now for a loan on your dream home. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. In sports, San Francisco hosting the Dodgers, Game 5 of their best-of-5 NLDS. That's National League Division Series tonight. Series tied at 2, Oracle Park in San Francisco. I always want to call it Candlestick Park. To me, that's where baseball has always been in San Francisco. It's now Oracle Park, a new field, and the winner will advance to the National League Championship Series against the Atlanta Braves. The game's loser will head home tonight. 8:07 is the first pitch. That is our time. San Francisco and the Dodgers. Giants 107 wins now in the year. The Dodgers 106. Sports brought to you by Wendy Sprouse Agency. Reach out to Wendy Sprouse, Medicare Nerd, WendySprouseAgency.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check, 6:35, 93.9 The Eagle, MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Again, in the last few minutes, we have received word from authorities that there is an injury accident. Stadium in Ashland Road, multiple emergency vehicles on scene for that one. No word on how many vehicles at this point. We'll get an update here in a few minutes from Joint Communications. Avoid the area if at all possible. That accident happening just a few minutes before we went on the air at 6:30 this morning. If you're in that, have a little more information. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle. They said more on that because someone turned the scanner down in there, so I'm going to have to.
It was a Facebook message.
Oh.
Are you guys finished? It was over the air.
Sorry, here.
It's okay. We're working on traffic for you.
If some of what is shown in these murals causes some to cringe, my view is that that does not mean the murals should be condemned or removed.
It hurts people's feelings, and that's how we do things now. Of course, the big battle over the murals in the Boone County Courthouse. Brian Hauswirth and I had that meeting last week. They voted 2-0. 3 commissioners voted 2-0. Atwill abstained, basically because of it. He was in favor of it coming down, but it had to do with storage ware and so on and so forth. But apparently the murals are they're down now.
Yeah, they're down. I went to a meeting of the Boone County Bar yesterday and was talking to some people. Judge Jacobs kind of gave like the state of the Boone County court system, and it was very positive. He said, in other circuits they're dealing with some backlogs just from everything from COVID, but that things have been moving pretty quickly and on time here in Boone County. They've gotten some help with the public defender issue, so that's moving along. And overall a pretty positive picture of how things are going here.
So the murals are down. I guess they'll be put in a museum or something somewhere, or somebody will break it and just burn them.
Well, when we talked to Dan Atwell, it would have been last week, Branden, he had said, he didn't say this at the meeting, he said after the meeting that they had been in touch with the State Historical Society of Missouri, and he said, a representative from there that had some experience with it, but he would not go into specifically where they would go, and he didn't know when they would be taken down. Apparently they were taken down over the holiday weekend, but the biggest concern he had is he wanted a historical, basically a footnote on what they had done, and the other 2 commissioners felt like the minutes would be enough.
And it was taken down because really there's no factual basis for that thing coming down. It wasn't facts. But they're down now. It was interesting. Yesterday I was at the Capitol in Jefferson City yesterday and looking at some of the paintings and stuff and the murals down there. And I got to look at it. The murals there is kind of a historical, chronological depiction of the history of Missouri.
Yes.
That's okay. Well, it was in the Boone County Courthouse. Not okay. By the way, yesterday, Governor Mike Parson celebrated his 34th wedding anniversary, wow. Maybe 36. Went and saw him yesterday. Had a gift. Me and my friend Marcy went and saw him, and I asked him, I said, Mike, what's the secret in it? 34 years. And he looks at me and he says, I don't know. By the way, Parson making some changes earlier this week to a lot of his department heads.
Yeah, I think Brian will know more about this. But the commissioner of OA has resigned, right?
Which was, I think that's the biggest.
And OA is?
Office of Administration, and they kind of oversee all the leasing and all the buildings, and they also handle the IT and the budget.
And
really.
the purchasing, all the contracting.
Right. It's a small department number-wise, but really you could make the argument it is the biggest. But you know what's interesting about that, Stephanie, is all the media, and myself included, were with the governor at the Rocheport Bridge, and all of us. I mean, you can imagine the media there, and somehow they kept that quiet because that was not announced until the governor was in the Suburban on the way to St. Louis. I had no idea, but Sarah Steelman's resignation was the biggest one there. But they also have a new Robert Nodell goes over to DSS. Jennifer Tidball goes back to because there's been a lot of controversy about those boarding schools. I thought that was the other big one.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be something because, okay, so changes in the governor's administration, department heads, how does that affect me sitting here in Columbia this morning?
I would say...
First thing I thought of was because foster homes, things like that, have been under the microscope lately.
Yeah, in terms of it, in terms of everyday, well, if you're some of these children, the testimony is almost unspeakable what was allegedly going on. And Eric Schmidt is and Eric Schmidt and the Democrats are actually 100% agreement on this. The local prosecutor down there didn't want to really go the highest charges, and Eric Schmidt is really disgusted with him. That prosecutor, by the way, is a Republican. But the testimony involving that department and what allegedly was going on to these children, I can't repeat most of it. One child said that he was raped. I mean, it's just horrible. Some of the things that we were hearing. The householders are still charged, but and then you also have allegations that some of the foster children, just in general, were missing. So there were a lot of issues going on at DSS, and Robert Nodell, who had been acting director at Health, is now acting director at the Missouri Department of Social Services, which is a huge department because they also handle Medicaid.
All right, and we got pictures of me visiting with Governor Mike Parson yesterday, and I was doing. Somebody was just saying there was a staff photographer there. They're just taking pictures, and I've got my hands like this as we're talking, and I put the caption I think that would have kind of made Hannah proud, but I put
it did.
It says, "I swear, Governor, the city of Ashland is this much bigger than the city of Centralia."
No, you said it the other way around. Yeah, you said
Centralia.
Centralia was bigger.
Is this much bigger than? And the biggest response on those pictures, "Let's go, Branden. Let's go, Branden."
Well, and back to the staff shakeup. I mean, why it matters for Columbia too is the Kansas City Star is actually reporting that is trying to figure out why the shakeup, right? And they're kind of saying, if you recall, Sarah Steelman married to David Steelman, who was on the board of University of Missouri curators, and there were some issues over that. You might have seen it in the news, and so the Star is now saying, is the shakeup it may stem from feud with powerful fellow Republicans, and references the issues that were going on at that time.
Possibly, Stephanie, but let's also point out that Sarah Steelman and a lot of the directors who were moved around were Greitens appointees.
Correct.
And Governor Parson kept most of them around, and usually when a new governor comes in, and not even of the same party, you could see some, but he kept almost all. I think there was one that he did not keep, as I recall. But I will say this, Sarah Steelman invited me to speak to the state leadership of state employees, the state leadership employees, and I'd say maybe 2 weeks ago I just saw her. I had no idea this was coming. I didn't, and she seemed fine. So
apparently she didn't either. The way I saw that it went down was like she was called into the boss's office and said, "Resign. Hey, we want you to resign." And she's sitting there like, "Did I do something wrong?" And they said, "No." And she said, "Okay."
Yeah. Well, but Brian's correct too in that these aren't like it's not uncommon for these to turn over even in the same administration. They're hard jobs, they take a lot of time, and people don't serve in them for a really long period of time.
There's a lot of stress, and what happens is if there's a controversy in there, we're talking about big departments, and if people under you don't do their job, sometimes the director is the one that takes the in DSS. I mean, the stuff that's being alleged in there with these homes, it's such a huge department. But as far as the other departments, and then there were some also DMH, that director's been around forever, Dr. Stringer. So it was a big shakeup, no question about it.
Yeah, and they actually, remember when we had Joseph Plagenberg on the show talking about Real ID from DOR? I think they elevated him now to director as well. So maybe eventually we'll get Real ID. I don't know.
Politics, man. Love them or hate them. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth. There's Hannah, the producer. I'm Branden Rathert. I get a lot of texts, 874-9390. One of them apparently so bad. Dylan saying, man, like I just get up here and walk around. Something Brian's been following for a while for you now. Traffic, yeah.
The traffic. Are we talking about Kingdom City or the one at Stadium? And
right now, the one happening right now.
Stadium in Ashland. There is an injury accident. It happened, I'd say, about 6:30. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to make another call to Joint Communications. But the way I've heard it is that Stadium in Ashland, multiple vehicles. They're urging people to avoid that area. That would have happened ballpark about 6:28.
So Stadium in Ashland, kind of a small drive. It's like you're going down Stadium, like it would be in between, what is it, Old 63 and like College, kind of in that area, kind of where some of those bluffs are.
The bluffs, there's a hill, and I believe there's a sign. I'm going from memory. There's a sign that says MU Veterinary Hospital. It's open 24 hours, and I remember seeing the sign, but that's roughly where it is. But I know that they were urging people to avoid it. I'll get a hold of them, and if it's bigger and bigger, I'll come back in and let you know. But for sure, at 7:03, I'll have another update.
All right, we'll do that for you. And, of course, if you're seeing something, if you're there, please let us know. 874-9390. 874-9390. Hannah, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you find a good dolment of the day?
Really?
It was a bit busy day yesterday. We had a meeting right after the show. I had to make a phone call to somebody. Then we had a meeting, and then I was in Jeff City, and then I had and so I never found a dolman of the day.
Where's my hotkey for white man problems or something, right? Isn't that what you... I have so many meetings and calls that I'm really important.
I can do this for you, but it's going to cost you like $5.
White woman syndrome.
Okay.
$5. Is it a good one?
Well, you're going to have to give me a little bit of time.
Come on, man. It's been 13 seconds already.
Even I'm not that fast. Come on.
We'll have a dolman of the day coming up. And I think the other thing I want to do is go poll dancing. Interesting poll numbers. Republican Party right now. A bunch of Republican registered voters asked, who would you like in the 2024 presidential election? Who would you like to put forward? The name we see number one all the time is Donald Trump. Is he still number one? In this poll, we'll have that, and then more approval ratings on
Download the 93.9 The Eagle app and listen to Wake Up Columbia everywhere. It's easy to do. Geez, even Branden figured it out. 93.9 The Eagle.
May God protect our troops. Thank you all so very much.
That is audio of Joe. A bunch of people asking him questions, talking about supply chain stuff. People want to know, am I going to be able to get ramen noodles at Walmart next week? Walked away, as he is known to do on numerous occasions, won't take questions because they don't trust us. If somebody doesn't have a hand up his rear end controlling his mouth, they don't trust him to talk to people. They won't let him take questions. Again, your president walking out on questions yesterday when folks say, hey, we're here to serve the people, so we need to know what's going on. And we have more questions regarding what you said, not answering questions.
Damn, this traffic jam.
Hey, man, it's kind of a nasty traffic jam on Stadium, and this is by Ashland Roads, kind of in that area if you're heading kind of like around Old 63 and then going up to College. Apparently an accident. One of our listeners tells us, like right now, you could kind of, you could almost get out and do like they did on I-70 yesterday. What a disaster that was. It was a parking lot, literally a parking lot. People getting out of their cars, which is kind of cool considering a bad situation. People getting out of the car probably made new friends, started visiting with people.
I think I saw a picture of someone like passing out bottled water to folks, which is so nice, right?
Yeah, just an opportunity to be friendly and kind of neighborly. We dig it. Fox News is coming up here shortly. One of the things they're working on. So this infrastructure package, is it doomed? What are some of the things that the progressives are trying to compromise on? They will have that for you. Also, there's an Islamic connection to that bow and arrow attack in Norway on yesterday. Brian Hauswirth is here. He's going to keep us updated with what's happening with this traffic on Stadium at Ashland. Also, talking about this monster traffic jam on I-70. We'll see if we can figure out what caused that yesterday. Let's do some pole dancing. We're seeing a lot of these polls. All right, so we're coming up on 2022. And that means then we're only 2 years away from the next presidential election. Who are we liking on the Republican side of things? Typically Trump, far and away. Trump. New polling out. Who lands at the top of the list this morning?
Trump. Not surprised. But it's not by a small margin. It's by a lot. So the article is basically saying 70% of Republicans said they want Trump to go for it. 47% said they would vote for him in the primary. The closest person to him, who do you think?
DeSantis.
Nope.
Know him.
Mike Pence at 26%, but DeSantis 20%. So yeah, he's in there.
Do you think the thing with Pence is people say, if we want somebody that it would be electable, is it Pence because he's a strong conservative, but he's not brash? Do you think there's...
He's kind of boring.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm trying... That's the polite way of me trying to say.
But yeah, I was surprised by that because DeSantis has gotten such praise and done such good work in Florida and gotten such, good media coverage of all of his good work in Florida that I thought he would actually, be higher than that.
And I wonder when people fill out these polls, do I want do I want Trump to be president? Yes, I do. Do I really think that he could get reelected? I don't know. By the way, and the latest new poll numbers regarding Joe Biden's job approval, they continue to be very, very, very poor. Trafalgar Group yesterday, Rasmussen reports, they're all like 16, 17% saying like, yeah, no, we do not approve of the job that this guy's doing. I should say 16% upside down, not 16% disapprove. A far greater percentage than 16% are not liking the job that Joe's doing.
The moment of the day on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Your moment of the day, dumb people in the news doing dumb things. I'm going to break another one of Hannah's cardinal rules here because I'm running behind this morning. Hannah always says, hey, when you get a text, don't just read it on air. Read it before you go to air with it. So Hannah has had to find me a moment of the day, and I have not had a chance to read it.
Well, I sent it to you, and I know it's clean, so you're good.
Okay, so and now my internet's locked up. I'm not kidding. Stephanie back. Well.
Who gets another shot? I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. There's a meeting today and tomorrow about recommending booster shots for people who've been vaccinated for coronavirus. Fox's Jill Nato.
Boosters for Pfizer's COVID vaccine have already gotten the green light from the feds. Now an FDA advisory panel is going to consider if booster shots of vaccines made by Moderna and Johnson & Johnson are a good idea. They'll be getting presentations from both companies. The committee's also going to talk about data on the use of a different vaccine than the one you originally got, what they call the mix and match booster.
A federal study finds people who got Johnson & Johnson's single-dose version may be better off with a second shot of one of the other vaccines. 5 people are killed, 2 hurt in a bow and arrow attack in Norway. Police say the man who did it was a convert to Islam who'd become radicalized. President Biden says a deal between a port and longshoremen will help get cargo off ships and onto shelves quicker.
The Port of Los Angeles will expand operations to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a 60-hour-a-week increase in productivity.
That means an increase in the hours for workers to be moving cargo off ships onto trucks and rail cars to get to their destination.
President Biden hosted a meeting with port officials, union leaders, major retailers, and delivery firms committing to expanded operations to help break a backlog in the supply chain.
Businesses of all sizes will get their goods on shelves faster and more reliably.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the administration cannot guarantee how quickly supply chain issues will be resolved. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The House committee investigating the January 6 riot at the Capitol could pursue criminal charges against former White House advisor Steve Bannon. He has informed the committee he will not provide any testimony or documents until there's an agreement or a court decision on former President Trump's claims of executive privilege. America's listening to Fox News.
Here's a fact. COVID hospitalizations of young people have tripled since the start of summer. Also a fact, vaccines are highly effective in preventing hospitalizations and deaths, even from the Delta variant. If you've got questions about COVID vaccines, talk to a doctor, because our kids are irreplaceable. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hear that?
That's the sound of a man guarding his home around the clock. Because he has 24/7 professional monitoring from SimpliSafe Home Security. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe keeps watch night and day. If there's trouble, SimpliSafe alerts him and will dispatch emergency help when needed. Get free shipping with the order of a new system at SimpliSafe.com today.
Thank you. 93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. Our current time is 7:03. It's 57 degrees right now in Columbia. We're expecting a lot of rain in the forecast, at least for this morning, and then we'll start to clear out. Rain in the forecast again coming up in the overnight hours. Good morning, everyone. Boone County Joint Communications telling me just a few moments ago that a multi-vehicle collision at East Stadium and Ashland Road in Columbia is partially blocking traffic. We are told that tow trucks are en route to that crash. I was told that a few moments ago. They should be there by now. If they're not, they'll be there any moment now. But avoid the area if at all possible. Several of you have sent us pictures here and texted pictures of the collision. There's going to be a lot of debris to clear up out of the roads as well. Looks like some glass, etc. There's no word right now on any possible injuries. Again, a multi-vehicle collision, East Stadium and Ashland Road in Columbia right now is partially blocking traffic. And if you do see the tow trucks, if they have arrived and it's safe, certainly give us a call or a text to update that for us, and we'll update that for the rest of our listeners as well. Meantime, a series of different crashes Wednesday afternoon on eastbound I-70 in Callaway County, backing up traffic for 10 to 15 miles yesterday near Kingdom City. MoDOT says those crashes happened near mile marker 153. Eastbound I-70 was closed for 2 hours. ABC 17 News reports motorists got out of their vehicles and spoke to one another on the interstate. That's how bad the traffic was. Callaway County Sheriff Clay Chisholm tells KMIZ one person taken to University Hospital, moderate injuries. Missouri's governor describes Senator Roy Blunt as a hero for working to obtain an $81 million federal grant for a new I-70 Roachport Bridge. The Trump administration awarding the grant to Missouri, the largest competitive grant ever received by MoDOT.
Both of those, with Senator Blunt and President Trump at the time and their administrations, worked very closely with us to be able to get, again, it was more money than we actually thought we would get. But they understood the infrastructure importance of this.
The groundbreaking ceremony was held this week in Roachport near Les Bourgeois. The governor spoke to me on a bluff overlooking the Missouri River. The project will be in that area coming up soon, but they need one more permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers before they can begin construction. State troopers say 3 Missourians were killed, another 51 were injured in traffic crashes involving parked emergency vehicles in Missouri, vehicles displaying emergency lights. The Saturday day, all day, has been designated as National Move Over Day. Authorities reminding you you're required under state law to move over if at all possible. If you can't move over, you have to slow down. Again, that's for any of the emergency lights on the highways here in Missouri. And a congressman who represents Jefferson City on Capitol Hill doesn't expect President Joe Biden to visit the capital city. Biden, you'll recall, traveled to Jefferson City twice as vice president. Vice President Biden visited the ABB plant. That was a high-profile stop in 2009. Republican Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer tells Wake Up Columbia that was a different era.
I really don't think that he has any interest in coming. Missouri is not a blue state. It's a red state. Everything he does is politically motivated, so I don't think that there's any way he's becoming.
The congressman, the top Republican on the House Small Business Committee. You can hear our full interview with the congressman, 93.9theeagle.com. And a reminder, job applicants hoping to land positions at Kawasaki's new plant in Booneville are encouraged to bring their resume to today's Boone Slick Expo job fair in Booneville. 59 exhibitors will be on hand in less than 2 hours. Employers, schools as well. It's not just Kawasaki. Caterpillar needs employees. Isle of Capri. Employers from Boone, Cooper, Pettis, many other counties will be there. These are face-to-face interviews. You need to bring paper resumes, and you're encouraged to bring multiple resumes to hand out today. That expo will start at 9, go until 1 at the Isle of Capri. Kawasaki is going to build that new plant in Booneville. It will open in May of 2022. We're told told those jobs will pay well over $35,000 per year. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you live this morning by the Candy Factory. The Candy Factory is in downtown Columbia. Anniversary birthday any day, thecandyfactory.biz. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 7:07. In sports, Ray Fosse, Marion, Illinois native, has died at the age of 74. He was also known as a great broadcaster, power-hitting catcher, Cleveland Indians, the Oakland A's. Maybe best known being hit by Pete Rose during an All-Star game at home plate, the 1970 All-Star game. Ray Fosse had battled cancer for 16 years. He was 74 years old. Baseball playoffs, Giants, the Dodgers, deciding Game 5, National League Division Series tonight, Oracle Park. Series tied at 2. Game tonight, 8:07 our time. The winner advances to the NLCS against Atlanta. The game's loser will be heading home for the year. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 7:08. Kevin, thank you. 57 degrees in Columbia.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people here on 93.9 The Eagle. Again, a reminder that we've got a multi-vehicle collision here in Columbia, East Stadium and Ashland Road. I just got off the phone right before the news with Joint Communications, and they tell me that it is partially blocking traffic. We have seen several pictures. Some of you have texted pictures. Looks like a lot of glass debris on the side of the road right now. I'm told that tow trucks, if they're not already en route to the scene, but they're urging people to avoid the area if at all possible. That's East Stadium and Ashland Road. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Two vaccines that are really quite effective. The mRNA vaccine, highly effective, extraordinarily efficacious, 94 to 95% for mild to moderate disease, and virtually 100% efficacious, because the real world effectiveness is even more impressive than the results of the clinical trial.
It was in the early days. A couple of things to consider. The Pfizer shot was approved at 95% effectiveness. It showed to be 76% effective. This according to studies from the Mayo Clinic. The Moderna shot approved at 94% effectiveness. Went down to 86% after real-life use. J&J was approved at 66%. It wasn't even used in this study because I guess it's like the low end of the coronavirus vaccines. I want to get into that with Dr. Randy Tobler, but first thing I want to ask you, and this ties in together because it's always, and I've said, people get mad at me sometimes because, well, they're moving the goalposts, they're changing the guidance. And for almost 2 years now, I've likened it to AIDS. Remember, AIDS came out. You can only get it by having gay sex. You can only get it from shooting drugs into your veins. And well, now we've learned you can get it this way. Well, now we've also learned you can get it this way. It's new. Coronavirus was new. We learn new things. Guidance evolves. So there is some allowance there in my mind, but I'm not a doctor. But I want to tie this in, I think, to one of the biggest health stories for dudes this week. All those years, Doctor, you've been telling me, hey, take low-dose aspirin every morning to help decrease your chances of heart attack. And now, hey, remember what we've been telling you for 20 years now? Never mind. What's happening, man?
Hey, how you doing, Brandon? Hey, it has a lot to do with
the changing environment that we live in, right? Because our cardiovascular risks aren't just an isolated, static risk environment. Because with less smoking and with the improvement in blood pressure control, some of the new blood pressure control meds, they're called ACE inhibitors. They're really not new anymore. They've been around for years. But relative to what we had, 10, 20, 30 years ago, when the aspirin craze was all pretty much solid evidence, the new ones are so very effective, along with the cholesterol-lowering drugs that not only lower cholesterol, but, by the way, do some of what aspirin does, and that is to be anti-inflammatory. And so they've looked at all that, and they figured that if you pose the benefits of low-dose aspirin among those folks who have not had a previous event, that's what's important about this information. This is for the primary prevention in people who have not had a heart attack or a stroke. Used to be said, hey, if you have risk factors, blood pressure, cholesterol, smoking, it's not a bad idea to be on those things. Well, now, if you pose the current benefits from the baby aspirin alongside all the other treatments that people are getting for blood pressure and cholesterol against the risk, especially as we age, over 60, bleeding in the brain, bleeding in the intestines, bleeding in the stomach. We had a case at the hospital the other day. Someone almost bled to death, and they were on aspirin for the prevention of heart attack and stroke.
So they almost bled to death? What did they bleed? What did they almost bleed to? What happened?
Gastrointestinal bleeding. Gastric ulcers and intestinal ulcers are much more common among people that take aspirin. For that matter, ibuprofen, any of these anti-inflammatories like that. And so you have to weigh that. And don't forget that hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding in the brain, is a real problem. That is one of the types of strokes. It's, the other type is, of course, the blockage of the arteries leading to the brain. That's what the aspirin will prevent to some degree. But if you balance that against the risk of bleeding, on the other hand, because you're thinning your blood with the aspirin, the experts are now saying that, look, if you weigh the risk versus the benefit, as we age, the risk of bleeding and consequences of that is more than the benefit from preventing that first heart attack. But for those who have had, a previous heart attack or stroke, or they have a stent in their artery, for instance, in their coronaries, something to think about. But you know what? I take a baby aspirin. I'm going to talk with my doctor. Before I even stop it, I'm going to talk with my doctor, because this is one recommendation from the U.S. Preventative Task Force Services. That's the same groups that recommends that women don't get mammograms till 50. And I can tell you, as an OBGYN, any woman, in my opinion, should be thinking strongly about getting a mammogram after 40. So this is a very conservative group in their recommendations.
Right. Dr. Randy Tobler joining us here on 93.9 The Eagle. Maybe we should start having the guy, Dr. Tobler, the guy you go see, maybe he should start joining us every Thursday morning at 7:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle, Dr. Tobler. Well, and then there's another thing this week. Guidance had always been, hey, cut down salts. We know that. And now new guidance, now cut down even more. So I think a bigger point, hey, we recommend you do this, and we're seeing it with a lot of this COVID stuff now. We've been recommending this for years, and now we're changing that guidance again.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that they are doing this in a very soft way. I wish they would have managed a lot of the COVID recommendations the way they're managing the salt reduction recommendations. These are guidelines for the food industry to really reduce the amount of salt just a little bit over the next couple of years from 3,400 grams. That's what the recommendation is currently for pet folks, what most people are taking, to 3,000 milligrams a day, from 3,400 to 3,000 milligrams. And you know what the recommended intake is for 14-year-olds and above in America? It's 2,300 milligrams. So we're still, even if the recommendations were realized by everyone, including a little contribution from restaurants and especially processed food people and not adding as much at the table, we'd still be above what we need. We only need about 500, 600 milligrams a day. So we got plenty of salt in our diet. Reducing it's a good idea. It'll reduce your risk of heart attack, stroke, and, oh, yes, osteoporosis and probably stomach cancer as well.
All right, 93.9 The Eagles. Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell-Hanna, the producer. Brian Hauswirth, who's, by the way, a pretty nasty traffic accident. Stadium kind of in the area of Ashland Road there. It's kind of like between Old 63 and College. Traffic has been backed up there. We're trying to get some more updates. Meanwhile, if you're in that area, please text us 874-9390, 874-9390. Apparently, traffic at the Ashland Road accident is clear and moving as of 4 minutes ago. Thank you for that. At 7:17. Then let me ask you. So we're seeing a lot of stuff with the vaccines now. And again, I give some allowance. I'm not a doctor, and I get we learn new stuff. But now we're seeing these studies saying, well, when these things were approved, and we heard at the open here, Fauci saying, man, 95% rates of success, and it'll keep fewer people out of the hospital, which is still known to be true. But the efficacy rates, now that they're being used, and that's been the big concern. Listen, okay, we know you did this study for a couple weeks and threw it out on the market, and yes, I'm exaggerating, but now we're seeing it in real life practice, and they're learning it's not quite as good as we thought. Is that because of the Delta variant? What is that?
Well, Branden, as we've talked about before, when they do these studies, they are using optimal conditions, right? So when these studies were being done last year, that's when people were more freaked out about the virus. Everyone was locked down. Everyone was social distancing. People were wearing their mask, right? And so they had really great results. And by the way, the goals were ambitious. For a 95% efficacy for any vaccine is remarkable. That is just huge. So it was an ambitious goal. And we know in real life use, vaccines are like condoms. They don't quite work out as well in real life use as they do in theoretical use.
So what about this new pill that's out, the Merck pill?
Molnupiravir. That's an antiviral that is really going to be, if the small study, there was a study done in about 750 patients, and look, there was twice as less risk of hospitalization, and no one in the treatment group died. No one in the treatment group died. 8 people in the placebo group died. It's a small study, but it's very encouraging. They stopped it early because the results were so dramatic. And it really works on the same basis as Tamiflu does for influenza. So, if taken for 5 days, within 5 days of onset of symptoms, it's going to probably be another tool in which we can finally, maybe suppress this thing. I don't think we're ever going to eliminate this virus, but we can deal with it more effectively so it's not like the evil Contagion on some late-night movie on HBO.
Dr. Randy Tobler joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9. The Eagle listener Brad says hello via text, doctor. And when you're talking about how we've been changed, we were talking earlier about how doctors have been saying for years, take low-dose aspirin, help prevent the risks of heart attacks, things like that. And you were talking about, well, the climate is different now. Brad laughs and thought you were going to blame it on climate change. When you said the word climate, we were talking about the health climate, new medicines that have come out since those recommendations.
Right. The environment of...
Yeah, where are you this morning, Doc?
Well, you're talking about a lot of salt, and so I decided last night, we're in Cancun, we're on a little vacation, and I decided in honor of the salt segment, because I knew that was in the news, and I knew you always cover what's in the news, I had no salt on the rim of the margarita glass last night.
There you go. Wait, points for Dr. Tobler. We're going to nominate you for one of our winners of the week that we do on Feel Good Fridays at 8:35. Hey, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, man. Can't wait for it. We'll see you then.
All right, Dr. Randy Tobler. Coming up, we're going to be doing, by the way, still, so this accident, apparently the traffic at Ashland Road, on Stadium at Ashland, that accident is clear and moving now. Thanks for the heads up on that. What's hot with Hannah today?
Got a weird food item that has gone viral, and I will not be trying this anytime soon.
That's coming. What is the weird food item that's gone viral, and would comes to spending money and protecting your money, we know it's the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau. Check out their website, bbp.org, and I want you to check it out. Here's why. It's free. And when I say free, I mean, by the way, you don't even have to do a username or a password. They're not going to send you daily updates and stuff like that. How a lot of these websites do. It's free, but you still got a username, password. It's just on there for you. And it might be, let's say you're talking about, I don't know, having somebody doing some fencing in your yard. I've never had a fence before. What should I ask? Do you do a good job, and what are the rates? probably a lot of other things that you might want to consider. And that's the benefit with the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau is there's kind of like guidelines. Hey, here's some things that you might want to ask somebody if you're thinking about having somebody do a fence in your yard. And that's just one of the things that they do at the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau, bbb.org.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle.
Just under 40,000 immigrants into the country on their own recognizance. That's known as an OR release.
Calling up 7:35. Zac Cantu. You can see when it comes to illegal immigration, you can watch whatever national news outlets you want, and you see how they spin the stories. That's why I like having this guy on. He hosts a talk show at a radio station in McAllen, Texas. He lives along the border. He works along the border. He's going to be joining us at 7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle to give us the local story. What is happening there? Not these national news outlets swooping in and saying, hey, here's what we saw today. today. He is there. He knows what's going on. And this is something, by the way, I was speaking with Eric Schmidt, who was in town earlier this week, talking about fentanyl. There is an influx of fentanyl happening in Columbia, happening in mid-Missouri. And guess where it comes from? It's coming from across the border. It's coming from Mexico. It is killing people here in town. As a matter of fact, Columbia Police Department is doing kind of a roundtable discussion specifically. It's not just opioids in general, specifically on fentanyl that comes from Mexico. He is going to be joining us. Zac Cantu is the guy's name. He's going to be joining us at 8:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:27.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
So you might have seen this on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page yesterday.
Oh, the sausage?
Yeah. I was going to do this yesterday, and then I found out it was National No Bra Day, so it took precedence at the time.
It was hotter than weird foods at the time.
So you've probably honestly seen this all over the internet because it exploded. A meat market in Madison, Wisconsin has released a candy corn bratwurst. Not only is it candy corn, but it's also a beer brat for their Oktoberfest that they have in Madison.
So do they cram the candy corns inside the brats, or do they melt them and put it on top of the brats?
No, it's like if you go to the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, you can see the picture. You can see entire candy corn through like the casing on the bratwurst. And they keep selling out. Like they're popular. And I don't know if I could do it.
The thing with, and you look at the picture on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, and it looks almost like if you look inside the casing of a bratwurst, it kind of looks weird anyway. And I love bratwurst on the grill with some onions and mustard, but it looks weird. Would you eat it? What are people saying? Would they try it, or what's the general consensus?
So we had 16 comments, and only 3 people said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Everybody else said, "Heck, no."
So we go from bras yesterday to bratwursts today, and that's What's Hot with Hannah. By the way, you can watch Wake Up Columbia on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. The other thing you can do, you can watch us on YouTube, and it's pretty cool. There's a benefit to you watching on YouTube.
Yeah, you can stream it onto your smart TV. So put us up, do your makeup, get your cup of coffee, you can watch us.
And just real quick here, Brandon, I want to say happy National Be Bald and Be Free Day. I know you're celebrating today.
I'm celebrating 2 days in a row. I celebrated No Bra Day yesterday. I didn't wear a bra. And I'm celebrating Baldness Day today. Hopefully you are too. Fox News is here. Is this infrastructure package doomed? They have that story here at 7:30.
News. I'm Lillian Wu. An FDA panel kicks off meetings today on authorizing Moderna and Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine boosters. Also, whether a different vaccine may be used than the initial shot.
The National Institutes of Health says mixing and matching COVID-19 vaccines is safe and effective and sparks a stronger immune system response than getting just one type of vaccine. The NIH trial looking at the immune system's response in more than 400 vaccinated people with 9 different booster combinations. Researchers say the results suggest that switching up Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna shots works just as well or better.
Fox's Sue Guzman. And initial claims for help for last week dropping to 293,000. That's the lowest since March 14, 2020 for jobless claims. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. 7:31 is our time. It's 57 degrees right now in Columbia, 56 degrees in Jefferson City. We are expecting rain to continue till about 10 this morning. It's kind of A dreary morning right now. Rain coming down right now. Showers until 10, then mostly sunny, a high of 69. Tonight, partly cloudy. Rain returning, low near 53. And then tomorrow on your Friday, showers likely and a high of 59. Again, right now, 57, our current temperature. A couple of quick notes before we get to our stories for this morning. Number one, just got off the phone with Joint Communications, and the multi-vehicle collision at East Stadium in Ashland Road has been cleared. However, right now, authorities are on scene of another crash. This one is on Range Line near Big Bear. Fire is on scene right now, according to Joint Communications. Doesn't sound like there's any serious injuries in this accident on Range Line, but it is impacting traffic a bit. Fire heading to that scene, Range Line and Big Bear, so avoid that area if at all possible. Here's a look at some of the stories we're following this morning. A series of crashes involving numerous tractor trailers and cars closed eastbound I-70 near Kingdom City for several hours Wednesday. It backed traffic up for almost 15 miles.
Troopers had to deal with several car crashes on I-70 in Callaway County yesterday, which caused a lot of jam traffic near Kingdom City. Happened about 1:30 near the 153-mile marker, and both of the eastbound lanes of 70 were blocked for 3 hours. Troopers say there were 4 separate crashes with 5 tractor trailers and 3 passenger cars. Several people were injured. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
Meantime, state troopers say 3 Missourians were killed, another 51 injured in traffic crashes in the Show Me State in 2020 involving parked emergency vehicles displaying emergency lights. Saturday has been designated as National Move Over Day. There will be enforcement taking place that day as well across the country. Missouri's governor says the $240 million new I-70 Roachport Bridge project has national significance. The governor tells 93.9 The Eagle an $81 million federal grant was crucial. He notes 4 million trucks cross the aging bridge in Roachport annually. In Kawasaki, Caterpillar, Isle of Capri, just a few of the 59 exhibitors at today's Boone Slick Education and Job Expo in Booneville. Most exhibitors are employers. There'll be some schools there as well. They'll be accepting resumes for positions. Now, students are also encouraged to attend. Kawasaki has announced they're building a manufacturing plant in Booneville. 270 new jobs just with Kawasaki. Production at that plant will actually begin in May. Booneville Economic Development Director Gigi Quinlan McGreevy is encouraging you to bring multiple resumes to provide to employers. Again, these are face-to-face meetings. Bring paper resumes, a number of them, because you will be meeting with employers. That event will start at 9. It goes until 1. Booneville's Isle of Capri. As far as dress, you're urged to dress business casual. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you by Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now, 573-445-5300, WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. In sports, Giants host the Dodgers Game 5 of their best-of-5 NLDS Series tonight. The series tied at 2. The winner will advance to the National League Championship Series against Atlanta. Game's loser will be heading home for the year. And one other note, Ray Fosse, strong-armed MLB catcher, his career upended when he was hit by Pete Rose during the 1970 All-Star Game, has died, 74 years old, also well known as a broadcaster. His wife, Carol, wife of 51 years, said that Ray Fosse died Wednesday after a 16-year bout with cancer. Ray Fosse dead at the age of 74. Marion, Illinois is where he was from. There's a statue of him in that town. 93.9 The Eagle Sports is brought to you this morning by the Missouri Heart Center, comprehensive cardiovascular care in the heart of Missouri. MoHeartCenter.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check, MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Again, we've got a crash right now. Range Line near Big Bear, and fire department is on its way to the scene if they haven't gotten there already. I just spoke to Joint Communications right before the news. Good news as well. The crash at East Stadium and Ashland Road has been cleared right now. They had to clear up some debris as well, some glass that was on the side of the road, but that has cleared. No word right now on the extent of any injuries. If you do see a traffic situation, give us a call or a text. We'll have another update for you coming up at 8:03 this morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
There's been more than 94,500 illegal immigrants released with notices to report since March 20th. However, since August 6th, almost 32,000 have been released via parole, and then close to 40,000 released on their own recognizance.
I thought we were being told, no, we're not just releasing people coming in here to the country illegally. We're not just I thought that's what we were told. That's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer, of course, used to work at ABC 17, used to work in Jefferson City, saying, hey, listen, no, they're saying like 90,000. Want to try to get some of the straight story from Zac Cantu. He is a talk show host at KURV, McAllen, Texas. So Zac works along the border. He lives there. He is somebody that's affected by this. He knows the real story, being working in the news industry there. So let me ask you, Zac, locals, you're getting this news yesterday. By the way, yeah, we did. We just kind of turned a whole bunch of illegal. We just turned them free, turned them loose out into the country. How are folks in your town reacting to this, or did they kind of already go like, yeah, we knew?
So our general area in McAllen, Texas, along the Rio Grande Valley, which is basically kissing the Mexico border, it's essentially an area where people are just passing through, immigration-wise. They come in not through the ports of entry, but they come in around the sides, and they want Border Patrol to pick them up so that they can claim asylum. And as you just said, the Biden administration is pretty much just letting them go along their merry way, and they're even expediting the process in some way, shape, or form. The thing that's been kind of frustrating for us concerning that, they're supposed to be reimbursing our towns and stuff like that, and for the most part they have been. But the thing that's kind of been frustrating is that the border had been closed for business, and Mexican nationals that come over and spend money for tourism reasons or for shopping reasons and things like that, and that's a big deal to our economy. And so we were wondering, hey, what gives? How come we're letting all these people in via they can just waltz in however they feel like it, but Mexican nationals and people that have legitimate business in our area, they're not allowed inside the country. We've been asking this, Branden, since March of last year. What gives?
Oh, God.
Well, we're going to let those folks in, right? We announced we're going to let the people in for work starting, November? If they're vaccinated only, though, right?
Right. And as you can imagine, the vaccination rate isn't exactly high with the illegal immigrants coming in.
Right. That just blows me away. So we were hearing about this yesterday. Stephanie and I were talking about this here on 93.9 The Eagle. And so people that are vaccinated and everything and are coming here to do business and to spend money in towns like McAllen, Texas, where Zac Cantu lives and works with his family. Those places, they can now, if you're vaccinated, now you can come in. Or you can just hop over to the river, swim across. You got nothing to worry about. So here in the heart of Missouri, here in the heart of America, we're laughing like, what are we missing? I can't imagine how your family, how your coworkers, how do you guys react to that, Zac?
I mean, like I've said, we've thrown our arms up in the air. Hey, what gives, Biden? Why are things being run like this? It astounds me. Now, recently, there's been kind of a fight about the wall and the border levies, right? Because DHS had these contracts in the Laredo sector and our sector here in the Rio Grande Valley to replace the levees. Now, some people saw the levees and said, hey, that's a border wall, and they freaked out and they said, hey, no more border wall around here. But there's a very legitimate reason that levee is there is because it floods really bad in our area. And it even got to the point where earlier this year, I think around March or April of this year, they had initially stopped the construction on the levees because it was going to be a part of the border wall. And you had our county judge and our local representatives like Henry Cuellar going out there and saying, hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but our town gets underwater quite frequently. And we actually need those parts of the levee back. And it was, I think the expression was, I did everything but get on the table to get the message across to these people. That's what our local leaders were telling us. So it's incredible that how contested everything is here at the border, and there's not a whole lot of answers from the Biden administration.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yesterday he was being asked about supply chain issues. Reporters started asking him questions, and here's how he handles that.
May God protect our troops. Thank you all so very much.
He doesn't. He just walks away, and he's not answering the questions of Americans. He's not answering the questions of people who live in these border towns, like our guest, Zac Cantu, host of talk show at a radio station in McAllen, Texas. He's joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
What are people down there saying about Kamala? You know, she was tapped as the border czar, and, you know, so I get that there's a lot of frustration with Biden, but are they blaming her as well?
Oh, yeah, that's also part of the problem. So when Kamala Harris had that interview, I can't remember who she was with, but she had mentioned, hey, yeah, we've been to the border. The time that she had come to the border was during campaign season. That was the only time she had shown up. She's been MIA along with, Mayorkas showed up that one time, but that was about it. There hasn't really been a whole lot from the Biden administration coming down to the border here in the Rio Grande Valley. There was a presser, like a photo op over in, I think, El Paso, and that was about it. We're like, guys, the problem's down here. You know, you're dipping your toe in the water here, going to El Paso, doing that. Meanwhile, I mean, I'll tell you a story. Border Patrol agents had to arrest 23 migrants inside of the water drainage system over here in Brownsville and in Hidalgo, because they're coming in through the pipes. You know, this is like picture the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like that. They're using the thing as an underground network to traffic people and things across the border. I got stories from the guy that runs the water district here, and they're always having to find ways to break off man-made tunnels in his district that are used to traffic people. It's an incredible story here.
And I'll tell you something, Zach. So our Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, was in town earlier this week talking about fentanyl, and I was talking to him after the event. I'm like, Eric, this fentanyl, as a matter of fact, has become a big deal. We have a Wake Up Columbia family member whose life has been incredibly, tragically affected by fentanyl that comes from Mexico. The Columbia Police Department has a town hall coming up talking about fentanyl. So the lack of any kind of action along the border, it affects people all across America. And I get angry when people, well, you just have no compassion for people. No, they don't get it. Zac Cantu, I want to ask you, incidentally, before we let you go, you work at KURV, and you work with, I think, another friend of mine, Sergio, works there. Do you guys go KURV, or is it like KURV? What do you guys call your radio station?
Well, first off, don't tell Sergio I'm awake right now. Put me to work. And two, it's 710 KURV.
710 KURV. Do people say, how come you just don't call it KURV? You got the great call letters for it, but it would seem to me it just wouldn't make any sense.
Oh, I don't know. It's we're having our 75th anniversary next year, and I guess it's just tradition. I've been with the company for about 7 years, and that's just the way we've always done it.
People ask us here, we're 93.9 The Eagle. We just turned 20, incidentally, on September the 11th. We were born out of the events of September the 11th. So we just celebrated our 20th birthday, but we get people. So it's 93.9 The Eagle, and we get people asking, how come you don't do like eagle screeches in the background? Because after a day or two, it might be cute, and after 2 days, it just wouldn't be fun anymore. Zac Cantu, KURV.
That'll wake you up, though.
Yeah, well, KURV, McAllen, Texas. Man, I appreciate our conversations. I appreciate some of that inside info that we don't get from these national news outlets. People crawling through the sewers to come into your town, and you guys not getting money that you've been promised to be reimbursed. It's just been crazy. We appreciate your time, Zac. You have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
All right, Zac Cantu, 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Rolling Stones saying there's one song that they're not going to do live anymore, and it's one of their classic songs. And I've always known the song is kind of like, whoa, it's kind of some dark stuff, but put in context, it's a song. They say they're not going to be playing this song on stage anymore because it hurts people's feelings. What's the song? We'll get into that.
This show includes language and or cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. 93.9 The Eagle.
Welcome to the show. It's Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up just a few minutes from now, so is this infrastructure package doomed? Fox has that story at 8 o'clock. The Islamic connection to this mass. If we're using American standards, how, and I don't know who defines the standards. You know, a mass shooting is like if even 4 people are shot, whether they're killed or not, that's a mass shooting. So is this a mass bow and arrow attack in Norway. There's an Islamic connection. Fox has that coming up 8 o'clock. Brian Hauswirth is here. There's a big job fair that's happening today. Actually pretty significant. Some info, if you plan on going, what it is that you might want to know. Coming up about an hour from now, less than an hour, 8:35. Folks in favor of extending the extra tax park thing. They are going to be here. I'm against it, but there's nothing wrong with talking to folks that you disagree with. So they're here at 8:35 this morning on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Rolling Stone, they've been making the news a couple of times this week. Part of it, Paul McCartney from the Beatles said they're just a blues cover band. I would disagree with Sir Paul McCartney on that one. But the Rolling Stones now saying they're not going to play the song Brown Sugar anymore. It's a song. It's one of their classic songs, obviously. It's a song, and it covers some dark topics. It's not glorifying it, I don't think, but it talks about slave ship picking up slaves and a woman being sold in New Orleans. And they say... play it on stage anymore. Now, nobody, and here's the thing, this is like Gruden with the Raiders. Yeah, I believe he was forced out, if you look at the whole story of what's going on there. But he resigned. Nobody said, hey, you're fired. He resigned of his own fruition after those emails were leaked in a separate NFL investigation, incidentally, that he got caught up in. And this investigation, in part, focuses somebody that was not a big fan of his. Gruden left. He made his decision. Rolling Stones are saying this is our decision. And the song covers the first verse of the song depicts slaves being sold in the slave trade in New Orleans and then being beaten at will. And you go through the lyrics, and it's kind of disturbing. But Mick Jagger, what is he saying about it? He's saying, basically, he says, these are wankers. Isn't that what they'd say in England? Wankers, isn't that the term they use to
I think so.
Criticize somebody? These are wankers. He said, that's fine. We'll pull it. Because, we have a few other songs.
A lot of other songs.
That we can play.
Yeah.
So Rolling Stones twice in a week. Bunch of old people making news this week. William Shatner going to outer space. And I'm not, I don't know. Do you get excited when the space travel thing, does that excite you at all?
Yeah, I think so.
Does it?
I think it's cool. I mean, talk about bucket list items. I mean, hey, I went to space. You'd be like, hey, last week I went to Vegas, and, now William Shatner's like, well, I'm 90 and I went to space.
That is the thing that surprises me. That's the biggest takeaway from this story. William Shatner, he went to space. I don't know. Maybe it fascinates you. 874-9390. Hannah, you get all excited when somebody goes to space?
A little bit. Not just somebody going to space, but these people who are doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Not NASA or something like that. I think it's kind of interesting.
I don't get excited about it, but I think the biggest takeaway from the story, William Shatner's 90 years old.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
He looks amazing I want his skincare routine. For sure.
He looks good, and he doesn't look like he's had plastic surgery. I mean, it doesn't have the weird face of like Melanie Griffith. You see her, and you can tell she's had plastic surgery and not good surgery at that. But you look at somebody like William Shatner, and I don't think he's had plastic surgery. The dude looks, he's amazing.
But yeah. The thing about the Gruden thing, you were talking about him and the Raiders coach, and someone pointed this out, and I thought that's so good. Because now that we're talking about him, guess who we're not talking about?
Who's that?
Urban Meyer. There was a viral video. He was dancing with some girl in a bar, and people were all up in arms, and now suddenly that went away. He got really lucky with the breaking of the John Gruden story.
All of a sudden,
honestly,
Urban Meyer is Gruden's biggest fan. I know a lot of folks. As a matter of fact, USA Today they keep a profile and you can look at all the NFL players that have been busted and arrested. One player, Mingo Barkevius, just a couple of months ago, not found guilty, charged with indecency with a child sexual contact in Texas. Another player.
This is a website?
It's USA Today. They keep an entire database. Then less than a week prior to that, Jaron Jones accused of assaulting his girlfriend. Then just days before that, Terry Tamorian, he and 10 others indicted for gang-related shootings. And these as recently as September the 7th. Warrant issued for a player, this failure to appear for a court date. And I think one of the things people are saying, and listen, we've had players even in our Kansas City Chiefs organization that have had issues with things like domestic abuse, domestic violence. And people are going, again, you got to remember, Gruden was not, he was forced out. You know what was happening behind the scenes. You're pretty smart. You get that. But you see these players, and then you have, check out these, like lyrics to a song. F that S, you just got caught with this B cheating while you at work. She's home, some dude trying to F her. I'm going to cut her throat, cut this B's head off. There's just some of the lyrics from people like Eminem, who are going to be appearing at the halftime Super Bowl show. So I guess the word we are looking for there would be hypocrisy. Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle, 758.
Who needs a boost? I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. Centers for Disease Control advisors meet today and tomorrow to discuss recommending booster shots of the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccines. A third dose of Pfizer's version is already recommended for some people at higher risk of serious COVID-19 infection. And a lot of Americans are still getting sick and dying.
The U.S. added more than 120,000 new COVID-19 cases and more than 3,000 new deaths in the past 24 hours. Analysis by the Kaiser Family Foundation and the Peterson Center on Healthcare says COVID was the leading cause of death among Americans 35 to 54 in September. They also say that since June, more than 90,000 U.S. COVID deaths could have been prevented with vaccines.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. A bow and arrow attack in Norway is being called an act of terrorism. 5 people are dead, 2 wounded. A Danish man known to police as a radicalized Muslim convert is in custody. A county in Oregon declares a state of emergency over illegal pot farms.
The Jackson County Board of Commissioners says law enforcement and other officials are overwhelmed by an increase in the number and size of illegal marijuana farms. They're asking Governor Kate Brown and legislative leaders for help. Illegal marijuana grows are nothing new on the West Coast, but a mega drought is creating a sense of urgency. The growers steal water for their operations, depriving farmers and homeowners of a precious resource. Recreational marijuana is legal in Oregon, but some growers and processors move their product through the black market to avoid taxes and other regulations. Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
A Georgia Republican Senate candidate, the former football star Herschel Walker, cancels a fundraiser in Texas Saturday over an organizer using an illustration of syringes arranged to make a swastika to protest vaccine mandates. A campaign spokesman calls the symbol very offensive. Walker, meantime, says about his campaign,
it's time for us to get Georgia back on track. And what we got to do, we got to stop this crime. We got to get these gas prices down. We got to get their food. You can't even afford eggs now. You can't even go to the store.
Walker there with Fox's Sean Hannity. America's listening to Fox News.
Here's a fact. COVID hospitalizations of young people have tripled since the start of summer. Also a fact. Vaccines are highly effective in preventing hospitalizations and deaths, even from the Delta variant. If you've got questions about COVID vaccines, talk to a doctor, because our kids are irreplaceable. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Big news from Simply Safe Home Security. Okay. Actually, I think the horns are too much. That's better. Big news. The new wireless outdoor security camera is here. Yes, Simply Safe's award-winning home security just got even better, taking whole home protection to a whole new level. Okay, I'm missing the horns. Simply Safe is celebrating this new camera with 30% off a new system this week. Visit simplysafe.com.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. 8:03 is our time. Robinson saves you time. 57 is our current temperature right now in Columbia. It is 56 degrees in Jefferson City, and we are expecting rain to continue through the morning. Still a little dreary right now, trying to clear out. We're expecting the sun to come out about 10 o'clock this morning. Today's high 69. Cloudy tonight, then the rain returns overnight, low near 53, and then rain again tomorrow and a high of 59. Good morning on this Thursday. Boone County Joint Communications telling the Eagle that there are still some emergency personnel, fire truck on scene right now near Range Line in Big Bear. Avoid that area if at all possible. The crash had happened earlier this morning at East Stadium and Ashland Road here in Columbia has since been cleared up as well. Meantime, a series of different crashes Wednesday afternoon on eastbound I-70 in Callaway County backed up traffic for 10 to 15 miles near Kingdom City yesterday. The State Department of Transportation, MoDOT, says those crashes happened near mile marker 153. Eastbound I-70 closed for about 2 hours. Motorists getting out of their vehicles, speaking to one another on the interstate, according to ABC 17 News, because the traffic backups were so bad. Callaway County Sheriff Clay Chisholm tells KMIZ one person taken to University Hospital for moderate injuries. Missouri's governor describes Senator Roy Blunt as a hero for working to obtain an $81 million federal grant for a new I-70 Roachport Bridge. The Trump administration awarding the grant to Missouri. It's the largest competitive grant ever received by MoDOT.
Both of those, with Senator Blunt and President Trump at the time and their administrations, worked very closely with us to be able to get, again, it was more money than we actually thought we would get, but they understood the infrastructure importance of this.
A groundbreaking ceremony was held this week in Roachport on the bluff behind Les Bourgeois. The new bridges are scheduled to be finished by December of 2024. State troopers say 3 Missourians were killed, another 51 were injured in traffic crashes in the Show Me State involving parked emergency vehicles in 2020. Parked emergency vehicles displaying emergency lights. Saturday is now designated as National Move Over Day. There will be enforcement across the country that day. Be prepared for that. If you do see the emergency lights on the vehicles, you are required to move as far to the left as possible, especially if they're in the shoulder. Go to the right if they're on the left side of the road. A congressman who represents Jefferson City on Capitol Hill doesn't expect President Biden to visit the capital city. Mr. Biden traveled to Jefferson City twice as vice president, including a high-profile 2009 stop at the ABB plant. Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer tells Wake Up Columbia that was a different era.
I really don't think that he has any interest in coming. Missouri is not a blue state. It's a red state. everything he does is politically motivated. So I don't think that there's any way he's becoming.
The congressman is the top Republican on the House Small Business Committee. You can hear the full interview with the congressman, Branden, Rathert, and Stephanie Bell and me on our website, 939theeagle.com. And job applicants who are hoping to land positions at Kawasaki's new plant in Boonville are encouraged to bring their resume to the Boone Slick Expo Job Fair in Boonville. It'll be starting here in about 54 minutes. 59 exhibitors will be on hand, employers and schools. It's not just Kawasaki. Many others are looking for employees as well. Caterpillar, Isle of Capri, employers from Cooper, Boone, Pettis County, just to name a few. You're encouraged to bring multiple resumes to hand out today. You don't have to wear a suit. Business casual is what they're encouraging you to wear today. Today's expo 9 to 1 at Boonville's Isle of Capri. Kawasaki is going to build a new plant in Boonville. It will open up in May 2022. They're going to make general purpose engines. I have linked on our website, 939theeagle.com, to the Boone Slick Expo Job Fair. You can take a look at the entire list, all the details you'd want, 939theeagle.com. Take a look at that at the top of the page. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this morning by the Callaway Bank. The Callaway Bank is with you for the moments that matter. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. In sports, Ray Fosse, the Marion, Illinois native, has died at the age of 74. He had battled cancer for 16 years, according to his wife, 74 years old. Maybe best known for being hit by Pete Rose at home plate during the 1970 All-Star Game. What a great catcher he was, great hitter, power-hitting catcher, primarily the Indians and the Oakland A's. Baseball playoffs, San Francisco, the Dodgers deciding Game 5, the National League Division Series. Tonight, Game 5 at Oracle Park, 8:07 the first pitch. The series is tied at 2. The winner will advance to the National League Championship Series against Atlanta. The game's loser heads home. Giants 107 wins on the year. LA 106 wins. What a season it has been. Powerful division there as well. 93.9 The Eagle Sports, presented by Woods Basement Systems. They're the most reviewed contractor for all things with your basement. Free estimate 800-388-9326. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:08. Kevin, thanks so much. Great work this morning. Our weather is brought to you by Woods Basement Systems, 57 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And at 8:08, traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people here on 93.9 The Eagle. Just a reminder that the crash on East Stadium and Ashland Road has cleared up. However, we've got nothing serious based on the information that Joint Communications has told me, but there is a crash. They're still trying to get that one cleared. Fire department on scene. That's Rangeline and Big Bear. Avoid that area if at all possible. They're trying to get some debris cleared up on the side of the road. No serious injuries in that one. If you do want to report a traffic issue, call or text us 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
He's lost the confidence of the American people. They don't trust him on his handling of the economy in any sense.
People are not only mad, they're now panicked about inflation. And this big spending and more borrowing is only going to add to inflation.
It's a tribute to Branden. Let's go, Branden.
Tucker Carlson there at the end, getting in on the Let's Go Branden stuff. By the way, question from listener Paul. 874-9390 is the text if you want to get in touch with us, asking about the big job fair that's happening locally today. And I'm anxious, and I hope somebody listening right now to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle goes to this and might be able to answer some of these questions this morning. So I thought this was some interesting questions. One of our listeners texted in. I wonder, so the people that are going to this job fair, how many of the people that are going are out of jobs, looking for work, and how many people will have attended that already have a job but are looking for new opportunities. So I'm hoping that somebody's going to this. We might get to that tomorrow, but this is a pretty big deal.
It is a really big deal, and we won't, Brandon, we won't know the answer to that till later, but I can tell you this. I did speak to Gigi, who's the Economic Development Director, and I know she'd be happy to come on. She gave me an example, and obviously couldn't give me a name, but she gave me an example of the type of person who will be there today. She heard from a gentleman. He's in his 50s. He just called. He heard about it, the job fair, and he lost his job. He'd worked somewhere for a number of years, and he was kind of worried. What do I do? And he called her this week, and she encouraged him to come. This is a perfect example. We've been talking about it all morning. He wasn't sure what to wear, and you want to wear business casual here, bring multiple resumes, but that is a perfect example. Someone who's worked, there's a lot of factory jobs, but there's also jobs that are desk work, but there's a lot of positions they're looking for.
And that brings us to the question from listener Paul on the text, 874-9390. If I wear a Let's Go Branden t-shirt, is that business casual? Give it a shot, Paul. Let us know how it goes.
Just throw a blazer on over it. T-shirt with a blazer, that's in now.
You're cheering for NASCAR race driver Branden Brown. Wear it.
I think we're all struggling with what to wear these days. I mean, from the pandemic, everything just kind of lowered. And it was even apparent yesterday when I went to the Boone County bar. Some people were in suits, other people were in polos, and everyone was kind of like, is this a dressy thing? Is this not a dressy thing? When do we dress up nowadays? I don't know the answer.
I went and saw the governor yesterday. Jeans, nice shirt, jacket, and cap it all off, flip-flops.
I'm glad you got to see him. That was great. Great pictures, by the way.
Governor Parson is celebrating his 34th wedding anniversary yesterday, and I asked him, what's the secret? And he says, Brandon, I don't know. Well, I don't know, but it was cool. Him and his lovely wife Teresa going to celebrate. And by the way, on the governor's Facebook page, seriously, you got to check it out. He's posted a picture from, I don't know, it was like the day they got married.
Oh.
Or early on in their marriage. It's not a wedding picture. Did you see it?
I saw it, yes.
It's a great, and I love that the governor would post that up on his Facebook page.
Right.
Because I'm guessing it's from like 1970 something. And it's a great picture, and I love that he did that, because sometimes, we don't want to post old pictures if we don't look much like we do now, and he did it. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
Mr. Hauswirth is here.
Good morning, sir.
He's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. So tomorrow on the show, Feel Good Friday. I'm excited about a couple of things. Number one, we're going to be clebrating some of the cooler things in the news. I'm guessing Brad Trinago is going to be here. I haven't asked him yet. I assume he is going to be with the Learfield Sports and the Tiger Network. But I think my first question, why will Mizzou, who we play in Texas?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
Number 21 in the country.
And it's the Gold Rush, right?
Gold Rush, yes.
Gold Rush game, wear gold. Texas A&M, of course, epic upset of Alabama last week, who's been number one for almost forever. But I think first question for Brad tomorrow, why is Mizzou going to upset Texas A&M? And I'm sorry. I got to try.
I've been getting tons of social media ads. I think they're basically giving away tickets at this point, right? They've got lots of discounts, and they're saying, please come to the game. So I was wondering if they're expecting low attendance.
Well, and if you look at Texas A&M's Twitter page, they're encouraging people to wear maroon. They think they'll have quite a few Aggie fans. I mean, they do travel. They're not quite like Nebraska in terms of travel, but you can see exactly but they do bring people, and normally they bring their band as well. And if people haven't heard their band, it is absolutely, it's kind of a military band.
But does their band have a robot that dances with it?
No, they don't have that.
There's a story this morning, and I forget what big city it is, but it was, I think, on some tech website that I like to follow.
You must follow it really closely.
I don't know how to download an app on my smartphone, but I follow. And it was in Washington, D.C., robot dogs have been spotted patrolling. And it's kind of interesting because you look at the pictures and it looks like our new friend, Spot the Robot, who was in studio this week.
I saw a bunch of people I haven't seen for a while yesterday. First words out of their mouth. How was the robot?
There's great video. And our good friend Cosmo from Y107, him and Lauren do mornings on Y107. He got some great video of reaction of Stephanie. So Monday when Spot the Robot, who kind of got famous dancing in a halftime show at a Mizzou game a couple weeks ago, not just Columbia famous, but ESPN famous, we had that robot come in and it freaked Stephanie out. She really is kind of wigged out about it. So we'd set up this whole thing to surprise Stephanie. It's kind of hard to do when you're talking about a high-tech robot walking through your radio station, coming in so that Stephanie doesn't find out, so that we can surprise her. But my good friend Cosmo got some great reaction video of the door opening and this thing walking through. What was your reaction, by the way?
You can on the video. You just see me scoot my chair, try to get as far away from the robot as possible, and then they just kept walking toward me. But I think after we visited a little bit with the robot and with its handlers, and I actually saw how it was controlled, I thought, okay, I'm not as scared anymore.
But when you first saw it, what?
Oh, shock! I was shocked. I was totally shocked. And yeah, it was looking at me. It was staring right at me, and then it just marched right through the door. And I thought, when is this thing gonna stop?
So these robots, now they're using them as police dogs in Washington, D.C., and you look at some of the photographs, man, that Spot with some green paint and some weapons loaded on there. It's kind of interesting. 93.9 The Eagle, our news partners at ABC 17, we're talking about supply chain issues. Everybody's talking about Christmas shopping. That's great. Get out Christmas shop early. I ordered a Let's Go Branden shirt. And it's an Amazon. I felt like I ordered it, and it shows up in 5 minutes. And it doesn't, apparently. Let's Go Branden shirt. I don't know if it's because of lack of supply or what it is, but it's it's 10 to 12 days before it will even get here. And I'm pretty sure 10 to 12 days from when I ordered it last week, probably won't even be a thing anymore. I'll be wearing my Let's Go Branden shirt. And people will be like, dude, you spelled your name wrong on that shirt. It probably won't even be a thing by the time it gets here. But it's a serious issue.
Yeah, you start your Christmas shopping now is what everyone's saying. And I this week just ordered my kids' Halloween costumes. They are also on this 10-day thing, so they're barely going to get here in time. Hannah laughed earlier when I said that my Christmas shopping, it takes a spreadsheet. I have so many Christmas gifts to buy. I guess first world problems, but I try to stay organized.
White woman syndrome.
But I was going to say the reason why, though, too, is because with kids, you want to feel like everyone has the same number and the whatever. And we do something where we do want, need, wear, read, because you can really go overboard. So each of our kids gets 4 gifts, something you want, something you need, something to wear, and then a book, something to read. And that way they don't, have thousands of, we don't go overboard. Anyway, but that requires some thought and planning. And it's October.
White woman syndrome.
But I am legitimately afraid that if I do my normal Thanksgiving week organization, it's going to be too late, right?
White woman syndrome.
You know what I got for Christmas one year?
What?
A copy of the Sunday St. Louis Post-Dispatch with the comics. I'm lying. We got an Atari 2600, but my parents could not afford wrapping paper after they bought this. Wow. And it was wrapped in the Sunday comics.
My daughter's about to celebrate her birthday next week, and she's getting a coloring book and a Barbie, and she's going to be, $25. She's going to be happy as a clam.
That's great. Incidentally, coloring book and a Barbie, that's what I got for my 5th birthday. Welcome into the show. Oh, so one of the other things I am excited about tomorrow, so we're celebrating a Feel Good Friday. We are going to be wearing red, and there's a reason we wear red on Fridays.
We wear red to remember everyone deployed.
And we would highly encourage, if you can, if you think of it, and we'll try to remind you bright and early, because we go on here at 5:30 on Wake Up Columbia. We'll try to remind you, wear red. And when I'm out in public on Fridays, if I see somebody wearing red, I always go up and say, hey, man, thanks for wearing red. And a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, we wear it at... And then some people are like, what do you mean? Thank you. I'm assuming that they are wearing red because it's Friday to remember everyone deployed. And so I quit doing that because I'll go up and say, hey, man, thanks for wearing red. You know, we wear red, too. We support this. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Strange guy telling me good work on wearing red. But the other reason I'm excited about this, we get to meet finally somebody in person that we've known this young man for over a year, but haven't got to meet him in person.
So actually in my Facebook memories from today, we met him a year ago today. His name is Earl Shannon. He's a 7th grader from Centralia, and he kind of became well known around town for doing play-by-play on Facebook Live of the high school football games. And he's continued that into this season as well, and he's actually going to be in studio with us tomorrow because he doesn't have school.
That's great.
I'm excited about that. We'll also get his professional, semi-professional, amateur.
He's a professional.
He's professional. He's good, and the kid is charming. You know, he oozes with personality, but I want to ask him in a football game. And I don't know, does anybody know, does Centralia play Ashland or Southern Boone High School? Are they in the same?
They've played before.
They've played. I don't know, and again, I haven't done that in several years. I don't think they're in the same conference, but they definitely.
No, they're not.
They've definitely played basketball too, I believe.
So as we continue our Ashland v. Centralia battle this week, which started with population, who's bigger, we're going to ask him if they were to play in a football game, Southern Boone and Ashland, who would win? Maybe he'll answer that question. Earl Shannon.
The power of local talk. Wake Up Columbia with Branden. 93.9 The Eagle.
It's time for the opening bell with Stephanie Bell on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
8:27 opening bell. Business news with a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
So there's a bipartisan piece of legislation that's going to hit the Senate today. Have you heard? I mean, I've not heard much about this at all. I didn't even know that was a possibility at this point, right? I mean, our parties can't even agree amongst themselves. So the fact that they both agree on something is quite bizarre. But so today they are supposed to unveil a piece of legislation to bar tech companies from what they're calling self-preferencing. And so essentially tech companies favoring their own products. And so this is to kind of tamp down on that. So some of this big tech legislation, I suspect we'll hear something from Josh Hawley on this today. But essentially so things like where you have to buy their own products to get preference on their website, where it messes with search algorithms, where they preference themselves, where some of the attack, I believe, is kind of on the Apple. There's been this lawsuit over the App Store where you have to, go through Apple's App Store to put your app on the iPhone, those kinds of things. So the full proposal will be unveiled today, but we've heard a lot about big tech, but there hasn't been much action on it. So I think this is an interesting step. And the Wall Street Journal is saying it's bipartisan legislation. It's been through committee and that it's got support from both sides.
So they'll say the Democrats will, hey, listen, we pushed this through, something we all agreed on. Now let's talk about the socialist ideas that we have for America.
But in the end, these companies built their own platforms, and so, is that wrong that you preference yourself? I mean, here on our radio station, we're not advertising for other radio stations. Mm-hmm. This is something, that Zimmer invested in. It's Zimmer's platform. And you know what? Guess what? We promote ourselves, right? And so, I'll be interested to see what the bill actually says, but I don't think that's a bad thing. If you built it, you invested in it, you made it, shouldn't you be allowed to use it for your own benefit?
Be like searching Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert and a big old picture. Gary Nolan shows up.
Right.
Gary Nolan's show starts at 9 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle. The Democrats aren't getting everything they want. As a matter of fact, right now, getting really nothing of what they want. Fox has more on this story. Brian Hauswirth joins us. Big jobs fair happening today. What you might want to know if you're heading to that. And the folks that want to extend this park tax extension, they're here at 8:35.
News, I'm Lillian Wu. A new milestone for the number of Americans filing for first-time jobless help.
On initial jobless claims, we're coming in at 293,000 for the week ending October 9th. So this, again, is a new pandemic low. Continuing claims down 134,000 to 2.593.
Fox's Cheryl Casoni, those continuing claims are better than expected also. And they're saying it appears to be an act of terrorism. Norway officials say the bow and arrow rampage currently appears to be one, and that the investigation will clarify in more detail the motivation.
Police say the suspected attacker, who's in custody, killed 5 people in a small town near Oslo. The shootings took place in a number of locations, including a supermarket. It's Norway's deadliest attack for 10 years.
Fox's Simon Owen. Police say the Danish man is a Muslim convert who was previously flagged as having been radicalized. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. Our time is 8:31. 57 is our current temperature right now. In Columbia, it's 55 in Jefferson City. Mostly sunny here after about 10 o'clock this morning. Sun is trying to peek out right now. The rain has at least stopped for the morning. Our high today, 69. Partly cloudy tonight. We'll try to dry out a little bit. Rain back on the forecast overnight. Low near 53 overnight. And then all day tomorrow, rain likely and a high of 59. And finally, we'll start to dry out in sunshine on Saturday with a high of 62. Again, 57 right now in Columbia and Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. Here's a look at some of the stories we are following. A series of crashes involving numerous tractor-trailers and cars closed eastbound I-70 near Kingdom City. For several hours Wednesday, traffic was backed up for 15 miles.
Troopers had to deal with several car crashes on I-70 in Callaway County yesterday, which caused a lot of jam traffic near Kingdom City. Happened about 1:30 near the 153-mile marker, and both of the eastbound lanes of 70 were blocked for 3 hours. Troopers say there were 4 separate crashes with 5 tractor-trailers and 3 passenger cars. Several people were injured. John Marsh, 93.9 The Eagle.
Meantime, state troopers say 3 Missourians were killed. Another 51 sustained injuries in traffic crashes in the Show Me State in 2020 involving parked emergency vehicles that were displaying emergency lights. That is according to the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Saturday has been designated as National Move Over Day across the state of Missouri and across the country as well. Missouri's governor says the $240 million new I-70 Roachport Bridge project has national significance. The governor tells 93.9 The Eagle the $81 million federal grant was crucial.
And I think you look at how important I-70 is for the economy of our country, not only for our state. It was just one of the things that matched up very well with their matching money. And frankly, we got more money than we thought we were going to get.
We have more with Governor Parson on our website, along with the story, 939theeagle.com. The current deteriorating bridge was built in 1960. And a reminder coming up here in about 27 minutes, Kawasaki, Caterpillar, Isle of Capri, just a few that we're naming right now. 59 exhibitors that will be on hand for today's Boone Slick Education and Job Expo in Booneville. Now, most exhibitors are employers. There'll be some schools there as well. Students are also encouraged to attend. The companies are accepting resumes for positions. The big one that is getting all the attention is Kawasaki. They've announced they're building a manufacturing plant in Booneville. 270 new jobs are open right now. Production at that plant starts in May 2022. We're told those jobs will pay well more than $35,000 a year. The Booneville Economic Development Director, Gigi Quinlan McGreevy, is encouraging you to bring multiple resumes to provide to employers. Paper resumes. You're going to have face-to-face meetings at the event. Starts at 9, goes until 1 at the Booneville Isle of Capri. There'll be employers there from Boone County as well as Cooper County, Booneville, Pettis County as well, and some other counties will be represented too. They're all looking for employees. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is brought to you this morning by Hemi Construction, homes and lots in the southwest neighborhoods of Chapel Hill Meadows, Nursery Heights, and Creek's Edge. Our news time is 8:35. In sports, Marion, Illinois native Ray Fosse has died at the age of 74. He had battled cancer for 16 years, 74 years old. Great catcher, Cleveland Indians, Oakland A's, hit by Pete Rose at home plate during the 1970 All-Star Game. He ended up playing up until the late 1970s and well known as a broadcaster after that. San Francisco and the Dodgers tonight, deciding Game 5 National League Division Series tonight. Basically, it's a title game for all intents and purposes in the NLDS Series. Is tied at 2. Tonight's game, 8:07 at Oracle Park. Whoever wins will face Atlanta for the National League Championship Series, 8:07 our time at Oracle Park. Sports is brought to you by Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia for gifts that last a lifetime. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Right now, things are quiet right now on the Columbia roads and highways. They were very busy yesterday, as you can imagine. Very busy as well in Kingdom City. Be careful on the roads right now. The roads have been very slick with the rain, and the rain definitely played a factor in some of those crashes yesterday across mid-Missouri. Be careful, slow down, give yourself some extra time. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Before we bring on the folks that want to extend this park sales tax, I want to mention we're getting somebody who's called in and says that apparently there's a bad accident involving a school bus. Now, this is westbound. This is in the St. Martin's area, west of Jefferson City. So I'm guessing this would be westbound 50. at Kaler Bridge Road near St. Martin's. Apparently lots of first responders on the scene. Traffic is backed up. This is in the St. Martin's area west of Jefferson City, 50 westbound at Kaler Bridge near St. Martin's. And if you're in that area, let us know what's up, 874-9390.
There is a school bus involved in that accident.
School bus involved in the accident from what we're being told, trying to get confirmation. And if you're in that area, let us know, 874-9390. Welcome into Wake Up Columbia. Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer. I'm Branden Rathert. November 2nd, go to the polls and vote on this park sales tax extension. A couple things I want to make sure I clarify here first. I was cool with this in the past, and our audience would shred me for it. And then recently, I've had several conversations via email and on the phone with Mike Griggs. He's the director of the city parks, and I've told him, I'm like, man, I use the parks, and I've gone out on a limb here to support what's going on with these, and I've been frustrated with what I've been seeing at the parks. And Mike Griggs told me, well, we've got an incredible staff shortage, pretty significant. And then I volunteered. And Mike Griggs, you guys are taking me up on my offer.
Well, you should have.
But can't more people do that kind of? And I know, listen, I've run volunteer organizations before, and it always sounds great. Hey, let's get volunteers to do it. And I find that it doesn't work well. But this is a personal thing. It's not a radio station. It's personally. I am that frustrated with what's happening at the parks, and I get it. You don't have the employees you're used to having. But I'm that frustrated about it that I'm willing to do something about it. But let's start specifically with the tax, November 2nd. Let me ask you, by the way, our guests here include Mike Griggs. He is the director of the Columbia City Parks, Heather Hargrove, who is, I would consider, a personal friend of mine. Would you agree with that assessment, Heather? Or
Yes,
okay.
I'll give you that, Branden.
All right. And then Randy Boehm, who served our community very well for a lot of years in the police department here locally. Mike, how much of the park's budget, dollar-wise, how much do you get from the general fund, park sales taxes aside? How much money do you guys get per year?
Just about $5 million.
Okay, and then there's two different taxes in effect we are talking about here. You get, there is a permanent 1/8 cent park sales tax. How much money do you get from that per year?
About $2.89 million, in that range.
So, okay, and here's, I think in my mind, there could potentially be some confusion. On top of that permanent 1/8 cent park sales tax, there is a renewable 1/8 cent park sales tax, and the amount that you guys get yearly on that.
Same amount. It's both. They're both 1/8 cents. They each generate at $2.8 million a year. Branden.
All right, so you're getting almost $12 million a year for Columbia City Parks. And if we don't renew this park sales tax in November, you're only going to get roughly $8 million a year. Is that not enough to do what you guys do?
Well, certainly yes, because what happens is that the renewable portion is for all of the renovation and maintenance of the actual park. So when a playground needs to be replaced after 20, 25 years, if we don't have the $25,000, $30,000 for that playground, then the only option is to remove it.
All right. So why, in your mind, and again, and I've said this to Mike personally, I have a hard time supporting this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've gone out on a limb over the years saying, yeah, I'm cool with paying an extra in this renewable, an extra 1/8 of a cent on this. But I see what's happening at our parks right now, Mike, and I just have a hard time supporting this the renewable, which would be for 10 years. I have a hard time supporting this.
So, Branden, this is Heather, and I'm gonna answer that because I've been in the same position as you. I normally, you and I have had many conversations, and we see eye to eye on almost everything. But when it comes to the parks, a portion of this has a return on investment, to our community. So this is one of the greatest examples, I think, of working with citizens and city government and listening to the needs and wants of those that are here, and as our population continues to grow and to service those areas, as well as attract and develop sports tourism, which is a huge economic impact on our community.
And I agree with all that. As a matter of fact, people laugh at me and I say, yeah, well, GTS it, man. Go look it up. One of the things when industry wants to locate to different cities, and it's about the same, whether you're in Boise, Idaho, Pensacola, Florida, or Columbia, Missouri, one of the things businesses do look at, they really do. I was shocked when I first learned about, they look at the park system, and I get that. It just, I just think that if we don't do this renewable for the 1/8 cent, we still have $8 million a year to work with the parks. And to me, it seems like, okay, you shed some parks, you do something. It just seems like $8 million is plenty to keep doing what we are doing, if not even better than how they're being handled now. Because I go to these parks and I've sent pictures to Mike Griggs. I'm even going and volunteering to help work with one because I am so displeased with what's happening at the park. It would just seem $8 million a year would be plenty to still make these things happen, Heather.
Well, this is Randy Boehm. I'll chime in just a little bit. Maintenance is a big deal, and I know that with the staff they have and the funding they have, they're doing, I think, a fantastic job. Maybe not to everyone's standards, but a great job. But in addition to that, Branden, the growth of the community is a big deal. Over the last many years, the community continues to grow at a pretty significant rate, not only in population, but in geography. And so in addition to maintaining, we need new parks in those other neighborhoods because those are big selling points. We talk to realtors all the time who talk about the fact that they use community parks, local parks, and the trail system as selling points for their selling homes in the community.
And Mr. Boehm, I know you believe in our community. You served our community extraordinarily well for a lot of years. I still just fail to see why I should have to pay extra. We got to build more parks. I don't see we build more. We can't take care of the ones we have now. And the park staff, and as a matter of fact, prior to me even speaking with Mike Griggs, who is the director of the parks, somebody who works in the parks department sent an email and said, hey, I heard you guys talking about this one morning, and we had a good conversation. I admire what you're having to do under the circumstances. I get it. Everybody's hurting for good employees. But me personally, and listen, I'm guessing, I know Columbia, I'm guessing is going to pass, but I as a supporter, somebody who's gone on a limb on this very show for years supporting,
But have you ever lived in a place that doesn't have great parks?
I can't do it anymore. Our guest this morning, Randy Boehm, Heather Hargrove, director of Columbia City Parks, Mike Griggs joining us.
So I lived in Jefferson City for a while. I've lived in Columbia. And as much as I love Ashland, I think that's one place where we could really improve. We have a wonderful city park. We just put in brand new tennis courts. But I really feel like the park system there has not kept up with the growth in population. And, Branden, when you said 12 million, I thought, for a city the size of Columbia, that actually kind of sounds low. And just Googling, it looks like Jeff City's park budget is about 10 million, which Jeff City's less than half the size of Columbia. So have you guys done research on, what Columbia's park spending is, per capita essentially, and where that falls with respect to other communities?
Our finance department used to track a lot of that. And then with recent changes, they don't track those kind of comparative data because it's so hard to compare. So, for example, you could say Rolla's got more parks per population than anyone in Missouri because they're around Mark Twain National Forest and those kind of big things. So it got real confusing trying to footnote every little comparative data. But basically, we feel that our budget is pretty good, that we can handle most of the things. But just like everybody else, every business in town has a help wanted sign. Everybody's struggling. We hope this is short term and that in the future we'll be able to come back to staffing levels that allow us to keep up to everybody's high standards, including yours, Branden.
Thank you. And I hope that happens too. But meanwhile, I just is what I'm going to do, because I am passionate about the parks, is what I will do instead of voting in favor of this. Because you're still going to get the 1/8 of a cent sales tax that's permanent. You're still getting $5 million. So you're still getting almost $8 million a year. And I don't care what other cities do. That's not my business. I care about the city I live in. I don't care how we compare with other cities. I think we have plenty of parks, and I think that there could be other things that are done. But what I am going to do is Mike Griggs. I'm going to see you out there at the MKT Trail. And I got to say this on behalf of Mike Griggs. He's been very good. I have called him as a resident. Not as, hey, this is Branden from 93.9 The Eagle, as a resident. And I've told him, like, hey, man, I'm just not pleased with the parks. And I've sent pictures to one of the supervisors. But here's what I am doing. I'm going to go out and I'm going to help. Mike, I will look forward to seeing you out there one day as we try to do what we can, because we are short on employees. I say let's give it a few years, do without the extra dedicated tax, and then we'll come back at it. Heather, I hope to see you tonight. Randy Boehm, again, I want to thank you for what you've done for the community, and we do appreciate your time here on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate yours.
Thanks, Branden.
You're welcome. Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9 TheEagle.com. Coming up, maybe we'll dip into the listener mailbag. Got a couple of interesting emails want to
Local opinion? We've got your back. Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
The only thing about age that has an application to this particular vehicle is getting in and out of the seat with any kind of a...
William Shatner talking about the challenge. Being 90 years old, went into outer space yesterday, and he says the biggest challenge of being 90 and going into space was trying to sit down in the seats and then being able to get yourself back up. Quick traffic up now. This is something that's happening apparently in St. Martin's along westbound 50.
Yeah, Branden and Stephanie, I just got off the phone with Cole County Sheriff John Wheeler, and he confirms that a school bus and an SUV collided this morning. There is some good news here. There were 3 children on the school bus. None of them with serious injuries. The only injuries are the driver of the school bus and the driver of the SUV. They sustained minor injuries, but the authorities are still on scene. The biggest problem they're having, as you can imagine, they got to get a school bus and then this SUV cleared, so it is impacting traffic. The good news, no serious injuries. It is a school bus. We don't know what district. I don't want to speculate right now. The sheriff doesn't have that right now, but the good news is that is going on and no serious injuries. I'll update you again coming up here at 9:03.
All right, that's in the St. Martin's area. Welcome into the show. Then, of course, Brian Hauswirth. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
There's Hannah, the producer.
What up?
My name is Branden Rathert, 874-9390. Brent, welcome into the show. What's up?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Just real quickly, I was kind of watching the NFL pregame show the other day, last Sunday, the one where the Buccaneers played, and all the guys sitting there at the table, Terry Bradshaw and the others. The guy looks at Terry and he says, "Guess what Tom Brady paid for his ear piercings?"
What did Tom Brady pay for his ear piercings?
A Buccaneer.
Hannah, how many points do you give Brent on that one?
3.
3 out of 5. Not bad. Brent, you got 3 out of 5 points from Hannah. Brent.
Oh, is that all?
3 out of 5 is pretty good, man.
Okay, I'll try to get better next time.
I dig it. There you go. A dad joke from listener Brent on 93.9 The Eagle. 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. We do the listener mailbag if you want this morning. We got a couple of interesting things in here. We could do things we did not. Oh, local races. So, Stephanie, I like to talk about what's happening here in town. We know some names of folks that are going to be running for local offices. So we know Ian Thomas, 4th Ward City Councilman. He's not running for re-election. Former executive director of the Voluntary Action Center. He's somebody who's going to run for that. Local businesswoman Erica Pepperman, I think, also running in that district. And then we have a candidate for somebody who is announcing she's going to be running for mayor.
Yeah, Barbara Buffalo. And apparently she used to be the sustainability manager for the city. And she intends to seek the mayor's seat.
Another name that's been out there running for mayor. Few folks might know who this guy is. He's on the school board. David Seaman. I talked to him last week, and he's like, I'm thinking about it, not real sure. And then folks wondering, okay, so what about presiding commissioner? Dan Atwill is out. If you don't vote, you don't vote no, but he voted.
He abstained.
Abstained in the Boone County mural thing, which murals are down. Now, this came down apparently over the holiday weekend.
Yes.
They're out of the courthouse now. So folks have been asking, so Dan Atwill, who might be running to take his place? I spoke with Boone County Sheriff Dwayne Carey. And he says, no, I love what I do right now, and this is how I best serve the community. Nick Noth, I think, is out there. That's somebody that might be running. You know who I'd like to see run for mayor in Columbia? Randy Minshew, who ran in city council race.
Okay.
Lost. But I think he might get more support when you're talking a broader area of Columbia. Gary Nolan Show is next. See ya.
Bye.